There we go. Alright, so... I'll get started in a moment. There we go. Okay, that music's a bit too loud, I think. Let's turn it down a bit. There we go. Right. Slideshow. Right. Okay. I assume everyone can hear me fine. Yeah, okay, cool. Sweet, right, let's do this. Okay. So, what I'm trying to do today is to try and raise money for the Almonry, which is a local museum in my hometown of Evesham. Now, the Almonry was connected to Evesham Abbey, which was the third largest abbey in England. Now, there was an impressive structure, as it would be, as it's the third largest abbey. I did have a model of it saved somewhere. Let me just see if I can find that first. Where are you? Ah, here we are. So, this is a model of what the Almonry looked like. So, as you can see, huge structure. Now, the only thing that stands today is the bell tower, which is here. So the bell tower itself is quite large, but then if you imagine it next to this model, you can just see how large and impressive the abbey would be. Unfortunately, little remains of the abbey today, save for some of the walls, which I'll show you. Where are the walls? Here we go. So this is, well, this is the cloister, but this is the walls here. This is all that remains of the abbey. There's a church there. But this is the cloister. But most of the abbey was torn down, and the events and the material was repurposed elsewhere. This event is known as the dissolution of the monasteries, and this act was ordered by, of course, my least favourite king of England, Henry VIII. Now, I am not a big fan of Henry VIII for many reasons. One of them, of course, is the dissolution of the monasteries. Not because I'm religious or anything, but because I really appreciate good architecture. And Evesham Abbey had some really nice architecture, as you can see. But the Almonry itself is a building which is dated from the 14th century. And basically what an Almonry was it's a position or a building within a position that basically tends to the needs and aids the poor and less fortunate. So they would hand out like food and clothing and all this other stuff as well during the medieval period. And what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be live streaming for however long it takes to raise some funds to help repair the building. So if anyone has any way of contacting, I don't know, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or even Batman, that would be greatly appreciated. So what I'm going to be doing for the next hour is I'm going to talk about the history of the Abbey and the sites around it, as well as giving a brief history of Evesham itself. So I have a video here, which I'll play now. Let's turn that down. And as you can see, this was an art exhibition done a few months ago, basically showcasing the history of the town. And while that plays, I'll just ramble on about the history of it. Now, I have in front of me two main sources. One of them is a book which encompasses the entirety of the Abbey history, from the rolls, everything compiled into one big book. It's all in Latin, which unfortunately I can't read. However, I have done a rough translation through it, so apologies if the translation is rough. I also have got various photos and illustrations from various sources from different parts of history, showcasing the history of the abbey as well as the town. So this is the main source that I'll be using. Let's get a picture of the Almonry itself. So this is the Almonry at present. As you can see, it's quite an old building, dated the 14th century. Oh, yes. So in terms of donations, you can donate 3 ways. One way is via Super Chats, which will appear on screen. Another way... thank you, Charles. Well, there you go. Matches. I was literally about to state I'll be donating £100 of my own ad revenue. So thank you, Charles, for that very kind donation of £100. I greatly appreciate that. I would say I'd sing your praise, but I don't think anyone wants to hear me sing. The second way you can donate is via PayPal me. And thirdly, there is a link in the description of the video directly to the campaign website, which is where it will provide any more information about it. So let's have a look at the history of the abbey now. So I'll give a brief overview of the history. So the abbey itself obviously no longer exists, other than the wall and the cloister. So this is the wall. This is all that remains of it now. This is the bell tower. That was, like I said, the building that I mentioned before. So the bell tower itself is obviously quite tall. But then, obviously, looking back at an artist's reimagine of what it may have looked like, you can see the bell tower is here. And then there's also 2 churches. When I was speaking to Alex, who is a chap who works at the Almonry, he explained that the churches here that I'm trying to show, one was for the local people of Evesham, and the other was for potential visitors to Evesham, because obviously during the medieval period and obviously throughout human history, plague was a big issue. So I think the reason, well, they think that the church was were built for one for the pilgrims to go into, and another for the people of Evesham to go into. And obviously the abbey itself, you couldn't just wander in it like you can today. You had to get special permission, because obviously this was a religious institution. But following the closure of the abbey by Henry VIII during the dissolution, the last abbot of Evesham, Philip Ballard, stayed in the Almonry as his residence. But as for the rest of the abbey, obviously it was all stripped of anything valuable. Any of the building goods were repurposed to build other sites, so certain building materials can be found now of the abbey in Cheltenham, which is a small town about half an hour away from Evesham in the Cotswolds. In fact, I have a map here. So this is the map of Evesham on Google Maps. As you can see, it's a typical riverside town with the River Avon flowing through it. This is where the Almonry is. I'll just go to Street View. So this is the Almonry itself now in present day. And then if we roll over here, let's zoom forward. There's an old pub called the Ye Old Red Horse. That's again, I think that's dated the 15th century. But then if you look here, this would have been the main entrance to, I think, to the abbey. And as you can see in the backgrounds there, you can still see some of the spires from the churches there. And then just to show a quick reference point where Cheltenham is, where the stones may have, where some of the stones may have ended up, Cheltenham's over here. Just getting up some more of my reading material. Right, here we are. So today the Almonry and the 2 churches, the Bow Tower and the Cloister Arch, are all that remain of what was reportedly the 3rd largest abbey in England. The Almonry has gone through a varied history over the years. So this is the Almonry website. So at one point in history, it was an alehouse, offices, tea rooms and a private residence until it was finally purchased by the council. So there you go. Obviously the main parts that need repair, I believe, are in the back. In fact, it tells us on the website. Restoring the Almonry, here we go. So yeah, as you can see, that's the kind of damage or repairs that need, because obviously an old building like that is old wooden joints and everything like that. Right, let's have a... So what I'm going to have a go at doing now is... This is the cloister, by the way. And what I've got here, if I get my maps images up, is I managed to find some images of the Almonry and parts of the gate. So here we have the cloister in modern day. I took this photo about 2 weeks ago. Secondly, we have an image here from the British Library. I believe this is dated, this illustration is dated around the 18th century, about 1735 maybe. But what's interesting about the drawing series, you can probably see, is the fact that the images of the people carved into it, which may be saints and other different religious people, have all kind of sort of eroded over the time, because obviously this is about a 300-year difference. So you've got the cloister here, and you can see at the top of it like a lovely little arch bit here, but as you can see from this bit, it's pretty much completely eroded. So that just goes to show you the damage obviously acid rain, climate change can have, and this is why it's really important we have the funds available to protect these historical monuments, because we don't want them disappearing, because obviously we want future generations to look after them as well. And there's also some illustrations of Evesham itself. I think a view of Evesham from Benedictine Abbey. It's a small settlement outside of Evesham. I believe this one again is dated around the 18th century, so a typical Edwardian town. But one thing I'm going to go over now is I'm just going to read from one of my sources, Evesham, A Pictorial History. And what I'll do is I'll just have the images play on a slideshow while I read this. And once we've gone over the images, I'll probably just have a play some video games. Right, so this is a book titled Evesham, A Pictorial History, and it basically explains the history of Evesham as well. But what I've also done is I've also got some translations of the scrolls from the rolls from Evesham Abbey, detailing all manner of things, from payments to fires to the dissolution and payments and all of that. So we go over it now. So here we are. Evesham is in the centre of the vale, which extends from the foot of the Cotswolds to Bredon Hill in the southwest, and the rising ground of the Lenches in the north. There is considerable evidence as to its earliest inhabitants. So we're talking, again, thousands of years ago. Stone tools have been found on Bredon Hill, and occasionally discoveries made of stone implements from the period 6,000 to 8,000 years ago, when Britain was separated from Europe by the submergence of land now underneath the English Channel. When this happened, the tribes left behind moved to higher ground such as the Cotswolds, Bredon Hill and the ridge of the Lenches. These people were later overrun by Neolithic tribes from Europe. Finds of pottery in Broadway and the discovery of an axe at Badsey tell us that the Neolithic men were followed by Bronze Age men who worked in the Vale somewhere between 1800 to 1500 BC. Iron Age men were in the district from about 500 BC, and coins from this pre-Roman era have turned up around Bredon Hill. The Romans' arrival in Britain around 43 AD, and noting the Vale as a fertile area for growing food, they occupied the land cleared of the forest to feed their armies and the civilians who accompanied them. Much evidence of the last occupation has been found along the banks of the River Avon, in places such as Badley and Adlington, and earth-worn fragments and coins have been uncovered in Hampton. But very few of the artifacts on Evesham itself. So that's like one of the earliest histories of Evesham. So this is obviously not in my realm of knowledge, as I only do medieval history normally. Christianity, introduced by the Romans, still flourished after they left in the early 5th century. There were isolated areas of Saxons by the 6th century, but Evesham was always on the extreme edges of Saxon administration, when, in 577, the Saxons defeated British leaders at Durham in Gloucestershire. The Vale of Evesham was taken over first by Wessex and later by Mercia. Pagan burial grounds, which I have some images of some pagan artifacts that predate Christians, or even during, the Christianity of Great Britain, which I'll show you in a bit. Let's see, where were we? At the time of the death in 654 of Penda, king of Mercia, Christianity began to spread under the influence of his sons Penda, Wulfre, and Ethelred. Evesham was in the Great Diocese of Lichfield, but under Ethelred it became part of the See of Worcester. This rise in Christianity laid the foundation of Evesham. So Evesham was founded round about the 7th century, and there's a story here which basically tells you of how the town was founded. The uninhabited area which became Evesham was high ground in the lope of the River Avon. It was well rounded, being the southern end of the royal forest of Feckenham, where the bishops of Worcester were allowed to run their pigs. Legend says that, again, apologies for my pronunciation, Ifef, again it's a Saxon name, the swineherd of Ecgwin, Bishop of Worcester, was looking for lost pigs in the forest when he saw a vision of the Virgin Mary accompanied by 2 angels. Hurrying to his master, he told him that what he had seen, and when the bishop came to the spot to find out for himself too, he beheld the same vision. It is said that Ecgwin then decided that this was a sign that he must build an abbey to the glory of the Virgin Mary on the site. However, it is more likely, as William of Malmesbury, now if you follow my channel, you'll know that I have quoted William of Malmesbury many times because he chronicles a lot in the Anarchy series. William of Malmesbury, writing in the 12th century, suggests that there had been a small Saxon church at this location, and because it was such a fertile area with an inequitable climate, Ecgwin was persuaded to resign as the Bishop of Worcester and to build the abbey at Evesham. Whatever the truth of the accounts, the foundation of the abbey was the beginning of the town, which was named... Oh, crikey. So, Evesham, and then you've got it spelled as Evesham, after the swineherd. Yeah, so in 701, Ethelred, by royal charter, conferred on Ecgwin the lands of Evesham, which I have actually got translated from the rolls. Also down in the abbey were the fort of Chadbury and a monastic community at Flabbury. A fuller charter in 709 endowed the abbey with 60 farms on both sides. So again, this speaks to the real fertile areas of Evesham, as it's situated on the River Avon. The abbey was dedicated to the Virgin Mary by Wilfrid, Bishop of Worcester, in 1714, and Ecgwin was confirmed as the first abbot. So that's the early tale of Evesham and how it was founded and how the abbey was founded. So it was seen as a vision, which is normally, in some cases, how a monastery is founded. Is a saint previously has a visions. Right, here we go. Yeah, so this is from the Abbey Scrolls, a chronicle of the Abbey of Evesham prologue. Begins in the life of the blessed Ecgwin, bishop and confessor. The mind of the hearer is astonished as the hearing. Blah 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 blah. So it's all in Latin, so it's quite ambiguated. Good person. Here we go. So the first part of the book begins on the life of St. Ecgwin, bishop and confessor, and the miracles by which God designed to work through him. While enjoying this changing light, there was a devout man whose name was Ecgwin, born of royal lineage. After he had spent time in adolescence, he obtained much of the grace of God, enlightened by the study, true light, and by the aspiration of the Holy Spirit. So typical saint of England, part of royalty, or a royal family, or just a noble family, trained taught in a very typical monastic way of life. Yeah, he was consulted, etc., etc. So there's just a lot of writing that just is in Latin, but then it's translated and it doesn't come out in a really proper sentence. Like I said, it was a rough translation. Okay, here we go. So this is after Saint Egwin had died, and it basically explains a certain peasant who, while he was obligated to remove the remains of Saint Egwin from the earth, tore off his own beard. King Ethelred, who was a king of Mercia, son of King Edgar the Great, who was a king of England at the time, the most prolific kingdom of England, under devoutly governed, a man of many flowers, crowned safely with a man to a virus exceeding the plague. He laboured to a great part of the saints of Egwin, to the extent he was able to possess it as if he was, according to his own will of his rights. It is opposed by many and who desire to protect the holy place, and especially by the name of the abbot of the same place. Again, bit confusing I know because it's all in Latin, but I'll try and summarise it. What I'll do is I'll quickly read it and I'll summarise it. Yeah, basically it was just saying Saint Egwin did some miracles and then his followers followed him, basically. Because there's a story of Saint Egwin where he was on trial in Rome, and what he basically did was he threw a key into the River Avon. A fish swallowed the key, and then as he travelled to Rome, he basically said, open up this fish, jumped out of the river, I believe, open up this fish, and they carved open the fish, and a key was in there, as Saint Egwin had basically shackled his feet to say, I'm not guilty of whatever he was being accused of. This fish has travelled with me with the key inside of it to prove that I am innocent. Let's see. So that's just one of the, again, miracles attributed to Saint Egwin. So I'll just go through some more of it now. Oh, here's a good one. This basically is another miracle attributed to Saint Edwin. Here we are. For blessed Edwin, he knew who did and taught us. Thus he will be called great men in the kingdom of heaven and in the citadel. He sows sparingly and will reap. And he sows who in his blessing will reap from the blessings of heart eternal life. But the seed of the beast from another place fell by the wayside and was trampled underfoot, and the birds of the air will enjoy it. And another fell upon a rock, and as soon as it sprung up, it withered away because it had no moisture. And some fell among the thorns, and at the same time thorns sprung up and choked it. It waited, however, to produce grapes, and yielded wild grapes. And the evil earth brought forth thorns and thistles to it, and by the pig vine turning into bitterness, by its evil smell banished the wine from its neck. The holy man, therefore, seeing who this kind of devil is, cast out, and only by fasting and prayer was converted into exile to the preachings of the pilgrim. Basically, he's saying he performed a miracle. There were some poisoned grapes or some toxic grapes, and he purified them or cleansed them through fasting and praying. But later on, after St. Egwin's death, we actually have the chronicles from the rolls telling us of a thief basically stealing relics and part of St. Egwin. And it was only by, from what I've read here, it was only by the intercession of a matriarch that the goods were returned. Yeah, for the offended matron took up the long desire of treasure and gave it to her with joy. Placing the remains of St. Egwin in a very clean coffin, he thought he would no longer rejoice in the theft, when lo, St. Egwin of the Lord appeared in the matron's sight by night, ordering her own report. Right, let me just close that. So what else did I had to show off? I mean, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask. I hope I've got enough information in front of me to tell the difference. Okay, so one thing also the Abbey was also famous for was the Battle of Evesham. So the Battle of Evesham was during the time of Henry VIII, who reigned England from the 13th century. Now, Henry III, in fact, let me get some pictures up of him. Henry III, basically not a great king of England, had a very long reign, but didn't really do a lot other than found a lot of monasteries. So basically Henry had, in a sense of a word, pissed off his barons to the point that they actually openly rebelled against him, like they did against his father, King John, who interestingly is buried at Worcester Cathedral. And basically a noble who is now remains in Evesham, Simon de Montfort, was the Earl of Leicester, and him and Henry were basically best mates for a long time. Simon got him out of a lot of pickles, and eventually Simon fell out with King Henry and joined the rebelling barons, and they fought initially at a place called Lewes, at the Battle of Lewes, where Simon won a decisive victory and actually captured the king and his son and heir, Edward Longshanks, who became Edward I. So Simon enjoyed pretty much unparalleled power for a while. He called one of the first parliaments in England, and basically Edward managed to escape his hostages by very cleverly having a bet with two of his guards. They were all three of them on horseback. He wanted to test who had the fastest horse. So they all rode different horses, and basically Edward I managed to secure the fastest horse and ran away from the guards, thus escaping. And he raised a royal army because Simon was being seen as sort of corrupt, and his family was spending tons of money and were just acting like kings, basically. So Edward managed to raise a royal army and managed to trap Simon in Evesham, which then proceeded as the Battle of Evesham. Now, the way Edward, I believe, trapped Simon de Montfort in Evesham was he managed to capture some of his banners and raise them over the River Avon, which then I think Simon crossed and then was trapped in Evesham. And the way Simon fought to get out of Evesham is, if I can find, here we are. The battle happened in a place called Green Hill here. Was Simon tried to push through Edward's army to try and escape and then head up towards Kenilworth, I believe, to regroup with his son. Of course, that didn't happen, and Simon's army was surrounded and butchered, as Edward had basically said, I want no quarter given. I don't want anyone surviving this battle on the enemy's side. Of course, Simon himself was surrounded and absolutely butchered. He was skewered, he was chopped in half, questionable things were done to his genitals. The usual stuff you can imagine would happen to a medieval noble who was condemned to death. So that was one of the major stories. I did try and find something in the Abbey's chronicles, but I really couldn't find anything about the actual battle in it. The only thing I have was some payments given for some land and cattle, but I do have some other interesting tidbits that basically after the Norman conquest of England, let me just put that back on slideshow. I do have interesting I forgot my trail of thoughts now. Oh yes, I do have a correspondence from William the King of England to the new Bishop of Evesham Abbey, and it reads, William King of England to Archbishop Lanfric and to Odo Bishop of Bayeux and to all his barons of England's greeting. Know that I have been given to God and St. Mary, his ancestor Harold, the best ever since the time of Edward and mine. Odo Bishop of Bayeux, Bishop of several bishops, sheriffs of Worcestershire and Gloucestershire and Warwickshire, and to all faithful of the King, Francis and English, greetings. Know you all that my Lord King William has restored to God and to the Church of Evesham and the Abbot those lands which the Abbot himself had entrusted to him before they were unjustly taken away. Basically restoring lands that the King justified, because obviously when William took over, he replaced a good amount of the clergy and nobles with people of his own, including some of the sheriffs. Oh, here we go. And we also have details in the chronicles of a fire, which reads as the following. The monastery of our Holy Father Egwin was often destroyed, as who hadn't seen it reported it by fire, unless the virtues of the holy pontiffs were protected by this pious defence. For those when remained of the holy man had been brought to the place of the burning. The force of the wind was generally twisted one way or another, for when at a certain time a very great fire was burning near the monastery, it was thought that the casket of St. Edwin was carried by 3 brothers through a narrow pass between the 2 houses, nor was there more space which had been carried down to the saints than the length of 1 foot. One house therefore remained destroyed by the fire, but the others were destroyed by a different fire. Henceforth we beg the Lord of virtues to loosen the bonds of our sins through the patron saint of Egwin, and feed us by the grace of his well-being, and turn or fall off the heads of his enemies, and let him deliver us from the fires of visitation, and from the flames of vice, and the punishment of the eternal fires, and lead us into following our Father, with whom we praise as author of ages and ages. Amen. So prayer at the end as well. But this is the opening, this bit here is the opening to Evesham Town Centre. That there is a bank dated from the 14th century. And this is an a cloister bit which leads to the churches which still stand. So I believe this is the church for the visitors, and then the church on the right hand side here is for the local people of Evesham. Basically when we were still worrying about plague, although I know we're still talking about plague now with COVID. Let's see what we got next. So I'm just trying to find some more information that I've got written down. We do have one of the last inquiries and payments to figures of the church before the dissolution of the monasteries, which I've got here. Here we are. Upon his death, the brothers chose Clements of Lichfield, priory of the monastery, as abbot on the 28th of December 1514. He paid many sums in his first time, first to King Henry, the customary amount for free choice, 160 marks, and to Thomas Wolsey he gave 100 marks. He also then gave the king a further 500 marks at one time, as he did some others. Then he paid the same king another 500 marks, so Henry's already quite a rich man already, for ransom as the king wished, to be provided with 500 marks. He also gave Cardinal Wolsey for his visitation 250. He also paid the Cardinal Lazaro, excuse me, I just need a drink. I do apologise for my hoarse voice, I'm still recovering from COVID, and it's gave me still a little bit tickle of a cough. He also paid to Cardinal Wolsey, who was coming to England, and he was charged every year with the king's servants to those coming to he always knew. Excuse me. Oh. 40 marks, 6 marks, 80 marks, yeah, etc, etc. And some besides, unlike with the service of the cardinals and prince, and he had been for 1 year the king's horses, with 24 servants daily at the table. The true and annals value of the monastery in Evesham is taxed by the commissioners of the Lord King Henry VIII, both in temporal and spiritual of the year beyond deductions. So again, a simple payment to the king. Right, so that pretty much chronicled all the information I've managed to glean over for the abbey. Let me get some pictures of the... Ooh. In fact, I swear I had some different ones. Hold on a second. So if we... actually I know what I was going to look at. So, when I said about what remains of the abbey, there are two things actually that still remain. One is the abbot's chair, I believe. Yep, the great chair from Evesham Abbey. So as you can see there, there's the carved. And if you look there, there's the chain, which would have been connected to Bishop. Very nice craftsmanship. And then we also have the Abbey door. So there's the knocker there, there's the door handle. We don't know what that little bit is for there. But then we also have this lovely fixture here, and this is the main door. Obviously, you can't really determine the size of it looking at it from the photo, but again, another reason to visit the Almonry is you can see how large the door is. So you certainly want that falling on you. But also in the Almonry, they also have a bit dedicated to the Battle of Evesham, showing the actual battlefield, and then little tidbits around some of the figures, some of the crest used. Again, another reason to visit, to learn about the Abbey. And then also, what's interestingly dotted around Evesham is these, which basically tell of the story of the town. So here we are, the vision of... again, I'm not too sure on the pronunciation. I should have checked this before I did this, but I couldn't really find anything. The visions of Eof. Legend has it that Eof the swineherd was tending to his pigs in the woods that once stood there. When he beheld a vision in the midst of the bright light, he saw the Virgin Mary flanked by 2 attendants. Again, like it said in the chronicles. Excuse me. Eof soon told his master, Bishop Edwin, the 3rd Bishop of Worcester, what he had seen. Impressed by the story, Edwin came to the Hemoth. At this place was well known. Walking alone in the woods, he fell to his knees in prayer, and on rising saw the same vision. Excuse me. Bishop Edwin thought this was an instruction from God that he should be build a monastery in his place to be dedicated to the Virgin Mary. Oh, sorry, my voice is starting to go. But we also have different ones. Here's another artist impersonation of the Abbey. It may have looked like before the dissolution. Thank you, Charles. The resulting spectacular building was a place of pilgrimage and a mental centre. I'm just going to go and clear my throat because it's bloody COVID. Let me just pause my mic so you don't hear that. Sorry about that. Like I said, this bloody COVID has really kicked my ass. I'm just going to hopefully be able to call in one of our first guests. Where was the other one? Was there another one? Yes, Lady Godiva. Sweet, okay, cool. Right, let me just open up Discord then. So I'm just going to invite, hopefully, our first... Ooh. Right. Okay, there we go. Cool. Right.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm not bad. Thank you for joining me.
No, it's no problem. No problem at all.
Sorry, my voice was starting to go, and I was like, "Oh no, I need somebody to talk to."
Yeah, I mean, how long have you had COVID now? Because I knew what you call it. It's been a good couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I had it about...
How are you?
Yeah, that's fine. We can hear each other. I had it about 2 weeks ago now, and it just absolutely crippled me. I had such exhaustion that I couldn't do anything. But I've recovered from it now. Like the feeling of exhaustions have gone, but it's just... as I've just found out while I'm trying to talk, my throat is still starting to like cough and be quite ill.
That's fair enough. I mean, I was going to ask was obviously you talked quite a lot about the history of the site and what was going on with the Abbey itself. I was wondering, I think you were just about to get into it before when you went off to clear your throat.
Yeah.
Were you going to talk a little bit about the museum itself?
Yes, the Almonry itself. So, I mean, obviously we've got... If I go to the website, It's probably explains it better here. But yeah, this image I'm showing now on screen is the back of the abbey. So it has a lovely garden as well, with a fountain and a well that they think they used to pump, that the monks used. There's also a pig slaughter pit as well, which is a bit grim.
Yeah.
And just various different artifacts from Evesham at the time. I mean, obviously, you yourself, you're based in Yorkshire, so you probably got a lot of these old buildings quite around.
Yes. Hello, everybody. By the way, my name is, people who have no idea who I am. My name is Charles. I run the Histocrat YouTube channel.
I should have introduced you.
No, it's fine. I forgot to introduce myself.
I'm a complete amateur at this. What can I say?
Yeah, I was getting. I must admit, getting some comparisons to York Minster flashing into my head, because there's plenty of other buildings around the Yorkshire area, but that's the big one, really.
I mean, have you got any? Because obviously, where you're based, is there any like local churches similar?
There's quite a few in the local area. I must admit, I've not actually taken much of an opportunity to go and see them, so that's something I need to rectify at some point. But yeah, the Minster is probably the big one in the area where I am. I unfortunately live in the middle of a bunch of old industrial cities, so a lot of the hello Solomon Grundy in the chat. A lot of the churches there were literally probably built in the 19th century at the latest.
Really?
Yeah, I might be wrong about that. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, that's one of the slight things that the part of Yorkshire I'm in is. These towns kind of became big towns during the first industrial revolution, so their actual existence as larger metropolitan centres is not as storied as a lot of the south. Let's put it that way.
Oh, of course, yeah. So yeah, because Evesham itself is remained relatively a small town throughout its life. Because one thing I was gonna jump onto before my voice started to bloody go was when the abbey was disillusioned, it really quite crippled the town in a way that it took probably about, I think, another 200 years for it to recover, up until the 17th century. Wow. Because the abbey was such an important part of the town. But then obviously nowadays Evesham is known for its still fertile farming ground. One thing that's incredibly popular at the moment is the asparagus that is grown here. I did have a picture of it, but I've lost it now. But yeah, nice local asparagus that actually was under a protection of the European Union before we obviously left it.
Yeah, reminds me a little bit of where I am. Is known for rhubarb of all things. So.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, you can completely understand that. You got dissolution of the major, not just kind of the religious centre, but what would effectively have been a political centre as well going on. So it's understandable. It would take quite a while for the site to bounce back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's another reason why I hate Henry VIII. I still plan to make that video one day on him of why I hate him, obviously. Yeah,
it's kind of weird. He's obviously stuck around a lot in the English consciousness just because of he was a lot more exciting than a lot of kings out there.
Yes.
So and he stuck around for ages as well. He was on the throne for 40 years, had all his wives, etc. So you can see why he and the rest of the Tudors were the popular ones in terms of the British education system and stuff like that.
Because their dynasty was such a short reign as well, really, when you compare it to the people that previously ruled it, the Plantagenets.
Yeah, going back to what 13th century or is it 12th century?
Yeah, it would have been 12th century because it came from Empress Matilda and Geoffrey of Anjou with Henry II.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because King Stephen was the last Norman-ish king, and then Henry was the first Plantagenet, who was probably also the most powerful one with the Angevin Empire.
Yeah. I mean, probably again, not that sort of height, probably not seen again until maybe Elizabeth II, potentially.
Definitely, yeah.
Elizabeth II, no, sorry. Elizabeth I, what am I about? Yeah, with the Tudor reconquest of Ireland and things like that going on.
Oh God, yeah, Ireland, yeah. I did think I found something in the charter that did mention Ireland, but I can't remember where it was now. Like I say, I've got this huge book in front of me. The problem is it's all in Latin, so I kind of had to use a rough translation, and yeah, it's not come out brilliantly, as you probably heard.
Yeah, I mean that's Latin for you. I mean, like I occasionally have to delve into Latin documents for bits and pieces of work that I do, and yeah, it can what do you call it? It can be a little bit difficult, but it's comes with the trade essentially.
Definitely.
There's another YouTuber called Laser History was probably very disappointed in us right now. I think he's said things about Latin on Twitter in the past anyway. So
probably could have just asked him, like, hey.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oxford boy.
Ooh. Yeah. So, do you want to give us a bit of a look at some of the rest of the? You might be doing so. Sorry, I've got the stream on mute here.
Oh yeah.
So I don't double everything up. So
no,
we've been giving people a chance to see a bit of the museum.
Yeah. So I'm on the Almonry main page now, and it's just scrolling through like the pictures of it as well, and I've got pictures here as well, and I was just going over some of the images that I have of the drawings from about the 18th century. So, and it shows, because you can compare it. I mean, this is, if on the thing I've got an image of it. This is the remains of the Abbey site, which are trying to be they're hopefully going to be doing a dig in April, which again I'm hopefully going to be a part of as well.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So,
yeah.
So I've never done archaeological work before, but that'll be interesting. But then the image of the cloister is just there, and then if I get the other images up, there we go. So again, this is probably it's a bit more of a grim topic, especially in our modern times. But looking at this illustration from this, I think it was 1735. And then comparing it now to 2022, you've got
it's quite dramatic a difference.
And I'm just like, acid rain, global warming.
Yeah.
So again, it's really important we have to preserve these historical monuments. But it's interesting that the cloister remained, and they didn't repurpose that for building material.
No, I mean, looking at it, it was something that's carved that way. Possibly may not have had. It might not have been that attractive as a modern building material. Is the only thing I'm thinking.
Yeah. Or even just an art piece, maybe.
Yeah, they might have gone. It looks too good to bother taking that down.
Yeah. Not like the original London Bridge.
Is it funny you mentioned that they're going to do a little bit of a dig? Because I think despite doing a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel about archaeology, I think the closest I ever got to archaeology myself was, I think when I was like 14, they did like one of those students outreach things where they like get a bunch of students from a high school and just take them to a small archaeological dig just for the day.
Yeah, they never did that with my school either.
Yeah, I think they only did it once for mine. Yeah, we went on that, and it was interesting. Yeah. Obviously they weren't going to let a bunch of like young teenagers go near the actual really sensitive parts of the dig. But
no,
it was a fun day out. Yeah.
I think the closest we got to in my school was we went to a place called the Black Country Museum, which is a recreation of a Victorian, town and whatnot. And it's nice, but the Victorian era doesn't really appeal to me. I'm more medieval.
So, speak of the devil, lasers in the
speak of
in
medieval.
The chat.
There you go, lasers in the chat. Now I'm just pointing with the histocrat. I've translated some Latin from my videos. Okay. What I'll do is I'll just send laser just every single page of this 1,000-word document. Just translate.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah. You've just taken on the role of his official translator. Yeah. So well done.
So, yeah, because when I visited Oxford, I actually nearly met up with laser, but unfortunately I was home by the time he messaged me. Never mind. Maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, that means you'd have to revisit Oxford, which, oof.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me as well. Somebody's in the chat just reminded me. So, as part of the restoring of the Almonry, I believe, here we go, yes, they're doing a fundraiser. So, they're actually doing a pilgrimage. from Tewkesbury Abbey to Evesham Abbey, which is, if we have a look, let me just actually work that out on. Let's see. I believe that's going to be at least a 30-mile walk, so that'll be fun.
Oh wow!
So
be a good long day that. Yeah. Well, it says 2-day pilgrimage on the Just Giving page. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly bring up Tewkesbury Abbey. So Tewkesbury Abbey is another large abbey that's again surprisingly survived the Reformation. I'm not too sure how it survived it, because it's a really nice abbey, which I think if Henry wanted to, if he disillusioned it, he would have made a lot of money from it. Let's see if we can go into
I just have the mental image, I'm sorry, of when you're saying Henry disillusioned it, there's like him there just tearing it down with his bare hands.
Well, as I
like
want
frothing at the mouth.
Yeah, as I want to portray him as like a complete villain, I can just imagine him turning up with just a pickaxe saying, right, bugger off, this is mine now. But then again, Tewkesbury Abbey does contain the remains of his brother, so that might have been why it was spared.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Oh,
yeah.
No. Sorry, that's wrong. That's wrong. Sorry.
Oh, is it?
He's buried at Worcester Cathedral, not Tewkesbury Abbey. I got them mixed up there. But that might be the reason why Worcester may have survived. Although I don't think it has its cloister anymore. But yeah, this is Tewkesbury Abbey. So again, another large one, but I'm not too sure. I can't remember the story of how it survived the dissolution of the monasteries. I'm just trying to think, because I'm trying to think of specific people that are buried there. At Worcester Cathedral, King John's buried there, Prince Arthur's buried there, a few Crusaders are buried there, and obviously that's
a fun little historical tidbit, isn't it? That we almost had a King Arthur for realsies, so to speak.
That would have been hilarious. But I mean, I think the reason Henry VII did it is because he wanted to, obviously still unite England and Wales with each other, and obviously Arthur being such a mythical figure. Let's call our son Arthur, and then we've got
you got the Welsh connotations going on there as well.
Very clever political play, but unfortunately it high risk, high reward, because his son obviously unfortunately died. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's just that was the practice of the time, was you have the heir and the spare.
Yeah, so, God, that's dark. Yeah, I mean, imagine if somebody who did alternative history probably have a field day with that.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there is something to do with that out there.
Yeah, what if Prince Arthur became King Arthur?
Yeah,
would the breaking away of the church still happened?
I mean, it's hard to. Getting into some big hypotheticals.
Exactly. Yeah, it'd be impossible to tell, because we don't know the personality of Arthur at all, really.
No, unfortunately.
So, but yes, they are doing a pilgrimage on Easter weekend, in 13th century clothing and boots. So no Nike boots there to help them out. And they will be using the route by Robert de Vere, Earl of Oxford, in 1273, when he made the pilgrimage to Evesham. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So, and there's, I believe I got some images, of the two chaps dressed up in 13th century. I don't own any 13th century clothing, unfortunately.
No, I don't. I had a friend at university who owned a whole bunch of battlefield reenactment stuff, but yeah, I can't say. If someone said to me, "What does 13th century clothing look like?" I would struggle to bring it to mind. So.
Yeah, I mean, I did have, when I had the artist make this, I did say to him 13th century, 12th century clothing, and I think he nailed it. So with women, it's probably quite easy to do, but with blokes,
yeah, probably some specialist tailoring going on there.
Yeah. I mean, I would attend the pilgrimage, but I'm not. That's a bit too much of a walk for me.
But 30 miles. It's yeah.
So hopefully get donations my way. Oh, how is your dog anyway?
Oh, he's fine. He's gone to see his grandparents at the moment.
Oh, lovely.
So, he's had a fun weekend, gone for long walks, etc. So everything's good with that at the moment.
Cool. I was going to ask you as well. obviously with your channel you cover a variety of topics.
Mm.
But is there anything in the future, like medieval wise, you'd like to cover?
Well, my kind of problem is a lot of the time my topics are voted on by patrons.
Of course they are.
So
yes.
I can't quite predict what they're going to choose each time. I know my next, I'm currently working on a video about Ireland, but it's from the Iron Age and the early medieval period. The thing the thing which I'm supposed to be moving on to do next is back in the doing Middle Eastern history again.
Oh, nice.
But I expect that'll be a shorter thing. So I might have room for something like that afterwards. We'll have to see if I want to do kind of an in-betweeny video or if it goes to a patron vote. So we'll see how it goes.
Nice.
But I mean, the way this current video I'm working on is going, it will be a while before anything else appears anyway. So
no collaborations for you in the future then?
No, I mean, I do occasionally get a couple of people asking, other creators just saying, hey, did you fancy just doing like a small collaboration? And I'm like, I don't, do you have 9 months to wait? I might be ready then, maybe. So that's how things tend to go. I have hoped to do something about the medieval period, but nothing is actually jumping out. Yeah, Emlaser saying shorter thing in the chat. Yeah, that's how it starts. It's always me saying, hey, I'm going to make something short this time. And it just, I start reading and I go, oh, okay, I think I've got everything together for a video here. It's going to be good. It'll be like 30 to 40 minutes. And then I find one source where I'm like, oh, this just blows everything wide open.
Yeah.
I have to change the whole focus of the entire video.
Does Laser have long videos? I think that's the question. What's his longest video?
I mean, I mark on a sliding scale for that sort of thing. So
yeah. I mean, let's while he's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, because I remember you're kind of like in the 20-30 minute kind of range.
Yeah.
Which is I think is a much more sensible length for a video,
quite
frankly.
Same length as me, so I think because my longest video is just over 2 hours, but that's a compilation of episodes compiled together. But yeah, I think
the Amkey video.
I think he's working on a rather long video at the moment, an hour-long one.
Oh yeah. I think I saw him mention that on Twitter.
I mean, I know he's probably working with his best friends at Kings and Generals. 36 minutes. Okay, nice. But yeah, I know he's probably going to be working very closely with Kings and Generals because I know they are just the best of friends.
But 36 minutes is the longest, yeah. Sounds about right. Yeah, I remember starting out on my channel, I managed to make I think the shortest main video I made was 35 minutes. And I was like, at the time, wow, this was ridiculously long. I'm never making anything that long again. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think your past self would be horrified at the video lengths of what you've got now going on.
Yeah, I think my past self would be surprised how everything's happened, though. So.
True.
Right, I am going to be back in 2 minutes. I'm just going to get a drink.
Of course. But while Charles is gone, I'll just quickly read this wee segment from basically the dissolution of Evesham Abbey from the book Evesham: A Pictorial History, which basically states when Henry VIII sent his men into Evesham Abbey in 1540, Abbot Lichfield, rather than hand over his beloved abbey, retired to the manor of Offenham. A sick man in his place, Philip Hawkford, a monk whose family was named Ballard, was appointed abbot, so a replacement abbot. His job was to surrender the abbey without causing problems for the king, his reward being a yearly pension of £240, which back then is a lot of money, and permission to live in the Almonry. So he was the last person, he was one of the persons who stayed in the Almonry. The rest of the monks were turned out with a pension of £3 per annum, and then any of their other servants I know were basically left with nothing. They were just told, nope, sod you, we're dissolution the monastery. At the dissolution, the king offered the abbey to the people of Evesham for £300, but to the detriment of the town, the offer was declined, and Sir Philip Hoby brought it as well as a portion of the abbey lands. The abbey was quickly pulled down, and the stone and timber sold off for building material. So a large part of the town hall, built by Sir Philip Hoby, is of abbey stone. So there are bits still left in Evesham of the abbey stone, but I think a lot of it went to just several places around the UK. So,
but I mean, it's interesting because, like, obviously, that's kind of the end of the building, but it's interesting to see. You can kind of see it as, like, this stonework was then taken away and incorporated into the building, so it kind of kept alive in one way. In these future buildings that were made using it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got I have an image on. If I bring up the stream, here we go. There's a model inside the Almonry, which is now the museum, of what they think it would have looked like. And I was saying this earlier, but the Bow Tower was built, I think it was finished 3 years before the dissolution. So I think that's one of the reasons why it stayed up, was just because it was like, it was built.
We just spent all this money.
Yeah, we're not going to spend, we just spent all this bloody money. Can we keep it, please? Because we kind of need a Bow Tower to tell people when the times of the day were.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, was just completely destroyed. And I think looking at this scale model, I think probably looking at it when we do the dig, where the cloister arch is, I think, again, this is just going to be farmland, so I imagine we might find, like, bits of pottery and other things. I can't imagine we'll find, like, a splinter of the true cross or something. So, unless I do that. I think, are you aware of of this one story during the First Crusade, when they're trapped in Antioch by the besieging army, the Crusaders, sorry, trapped in Antioch, and I think the bishop or the priest leading them, they were, like, praying and doing penance in the church, and apparently one of the priests just randomly started digging into the ground to, like, look for something. And
is this the Spear of Longinus, whatever it's called?
Yeah, and then he found, like, the spearhead, and then he was like, yeah, God's on our side. But then you think, well, actually, maybe he just jumped in there and had it on him.
Yeah, I think that was yeah, I don't think that actually took place in Antioch, did it? I think it was, like, the instigation for one of the Crusades.
Might have been.
I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember it very well. It's like the guy is like the guy who found it was a bit of an eccentric or something like that.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't think I'm going to find that in the dig. It'd be hilarious if I did.
Still interesting.
Yeah, because one of the other things that's housed at the Abbey at the moment is this. This, I believe, in fact, it tells me actually on the next slide. Anglo-Saxon grave goods. So this is pagan art. This is like a pagan, like, brooch, I think it was. This is jewelry. Yeah. Most typical Anglo-Saxon grave goods are knives. It's generally assumed that the size of the knife, blah blah blah. Yeah. So I'm trying to think, because Alex, one of the chaps who worked there, explained it to me, but I can't remember what he said now. It's gone from my mind. But I remember he's saying this was found, and it was like a Saxon burial, and I think this was during the just before about the 5th or 6th century it was found. So dated during the Anglo-Saxon immigration to what is now known as England.
Yeah, kind of in that what I tend to call the murky period of British history. Yeah,
the period I tried making. I'm still making videos about in early Welsh medieval figures, and it's like, I can't really get a lot of information out of it. So
those periods are always the most interesting to me. Like, I'm writing something about late Iron Age and early medieval Ireland, and not writing. I'm currently making the video on it. But that's got a similar thing going on to, like, places like Wales and southern England, where we have a few sources scattered here and there, but there's so little actual knowledge of what was going on most of the time. And there was I remember, like, when people will say things like, oh, if you could go back in time and visit any period, when would you visit? And people are like, oh, I'd go to ancient Greece, or I'd go to ancient Rome. And then I'm there going, I'd probably go somewhere like early medieval Ireland, or Anglo-Saxon England in the first centuries of it, because we have no idea what was going on in a lot of those places. And I'm sure archaeologists are cringing when I say that. We probably have a good idea of what was going on in terms of land usage and how people were moving around, what types of agriculture and stuff they were using. But would you have less knowledge compared with like continental Europe during a lot of the same period?
Definitely, yeah. And again, I'd probably do the same. I think first thing I would do is I'd do a quick stop at the Battle of Hastings just to see how Harold Godwinson died, whether it was arrow in the face or run down by William or whatever. And then I would be like, right, let's go and see I'd like to see the early foundations of St. David's Cathedral, as well as like the foundations of how the early Welsh kingdoms were formed, like how they were created and how they maintained their power, because obviously a lot of kingdoms rise up and then fall, and then you had your ones that were eventually established. And I would just want to interview historical people, but then I'd be like, well, actually, I'm probably going to give them a disease that they have no immunity to, or that they're not going to understand me.
Those are the two big roadblocks, aren't they? They're taking future bacteria back to those times. Yeah. And obviously the big one is the language one.
Yeah, because I've just obviously recovered from COVID, so biological weapon coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of spoiled a lot of the idea of time travel for me, was the realizing that even going back 600 years or so, you're already going to have difficulties in being fully comprehended.
Definitely.
Like just looking at Middle English compared with current English, then go back to Old English, you're like, oh, this is closer to German than English. But
yeah.
Again, probably linguists very annoyed by that statement. Apologies.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as I'm still learning Welsh, I'm still like really struggling with just some of the basic stuff, just because it's such an alien language, like a native English speaker for me.
Yeah, different family of languages. Yeah. M. Laser in the chat saying that Peter Bartholomew, a priest from southern France, found part of the Holy Lands apparently due to a vision during the second siege of Antioch in 1098. So yeah, it looks like we were correct.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I remember reading it somewhere, and it just seemed like that's a big bold move to say, hey guys, I've just we're in a really dire moment in our time, and then it's like, oh hey, I found this lands. And as he says,
what perfect timing. Yeah.
So it's kind of like when you wake up and you're like ravishingly hungry, and it's like, oh, I've got convenient food there, but it's not like it's just cold cereal, not a beautiful fully cooked English breakfast, unless you've got somebody to kindly make it for you. That's the closest parallel I can think of. Yeah, here we go. When I said earlier about the Evesham being not going under, but suffering from the dissolution of the monastery. Yeah, it was up till literally the 17th century, 1611, that it began to thrive again.
Oh, that reminds me. I was going to ask. So, in terms of the funds that they're raising for restoration work around the area, is there a specific project that this is going towards, or is it just a general, maintenance, helping repair various bits and pieces?
Yeah. So the Almonry itself has been placed, it says on the website as well, at Heritage at Risk Register. So it helps it, buildings are being damaged or whatever, but you can see on the website some of the damages that have been not done by obviously people, but just environmental effects. There's some wooden panels here that are damaged, some structural damage at the back of it, I believe, as well, when I saw it. But again, it unfortunately is a lot of money. That's why I said it. That's why I said at the start of it. If anyone knows Jeff Bezos or Batman or Elon Musk, because the actual repairs itself, I think, were about £2 million.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So yeah, while I'm obviously I'm not going to be here until I've raised £2 million, because I think I would be here forever. And I'd be have to quit my job and be yeah, sorry, I can't come in until I've raised this £2 million. But yeah, so that's what they're hoping to raise. I mean, I know hopefully they can get maybe a lottery fund or something else, or just hopefully just different various fundraisers. But yeah, I think it was about 2 million to
fully
refurbish the
restore it.
museum. Yeah, which is, you know, is a shame, but you know, it's the kind of thing, isn't it, with some of the buildings as well, and climate change is going to be even make it worse, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the unfortunate reality of very old buildings.
Yeah,
Just, things
unfortunately.
break down over time.
Yeah, but it's a lovely place. It's and it's not too obviously because it's quite an old building. It's not too like low beam, so you don't hit your head. Because obviously, I mean, you're what 6'1"?
That's what it says on my CV. The answer is actually 5'11". But yeah,
So you won't hit your head in when you go into the armory, which is quite nice. So I
yeah,
mean,
because I forget that a lot of people, the average height was a bit lower back in those days.
well,
So,
typically, yeah, but yeah,
yeah. I think that was one thing which surprised me when I was learning about the transition to farming. Like going back into really deep history. I think someone was like someone coming through just a basic education on history up to like year 9 in the UK. I always had like the mental image of like, oh yeah, hunter gathering gatherers. They're like scraping by. They're like dressed in furs and like freezing, like barely surviving. And then the farmers are all these, you know, like strong and hale-bodied with loads of food to eat. And then you actually look into it and you're like, no, it was probably a lot more miserable being a Neolithic farmer than it was being a Mesolithic hunter-gatherer. And I remember, I'm trying to remember where I actually read this, but some of the sources I read at the time were basically talking about the early generations of farmers, just their physiques were physically smaller, and you know they're more likely to have crippling injuries than hunter-gatherers. Because farming, compared with going out and hunting versus monotonous Neolithic farming, it's not fun by comparison.
no,
It's not.
a lot of
It's
physical
very
labour.
stressful on the body. So
Yeah, I mean, I have worked on a farm. It was like again, it was a school trip, and they wanted to like teach us like you know being on a farm and like you know, and I thought, oh, we're gonna be driving tractors. No, we were like raking and like you know sowing seeds and stuff like that. And I was
yeah,
like, this is bloody boring. I mean, this is 11-year-old me, so you know,
yeah,
this is bloody boring. But yeah, it definitely was like yeah, farming even now is not easy.
no, no, exactly. Yeah, that's. I mean, that Emily's in a chat. You get beer and alcohol from it. That's thought in a lot of the earliest prehistoric cultures. I don't know how conclusive this is, but a lot of the theories around why farming was an attractive lifestyle to take up was because you could produce alcoholic beverages from it. That's one thing. The other idea being it became popular because if you wanted to do any megalithic style building, you probably needed a bunch of people, and one way to get hold of a bunch of people was to make a bunch of booze and food for them. So, yeah,
I mean, that's I think that's any way to get somebody around your house now is to be like, yeah, I've got booze and
yeah,
food.
yeah. I mean, that's like in many ways, that's probably where a lot of the concept of like kingship and early chieftains came from. It was the guy who had the resources to put on those major public events, basically, to get things done within society.
Yeah, because when I went to the that Roman villa a few weeks ago, let me see if I can get some of the images up. It was they had a room where they had like a reimagine of the main dining area, which they recreated, and I'm just trying to see if I had the video of it. But basically, the video was here we go. I'm going to see if this plays properly. Hold on a sec. There we go. So this was the main like mosaic bit, and then they have like this silhouette of like Romans eating and chatting. And I didn't catch it, but like at one point, one of the actor blokes shouts out, "This wine is cold," and like starts like abusing one of the servants, saying, "Go and heat up this wine. It's bloody cold." And then he's like, "I'm just gonna," and then he just carries on eating and birching and belching because like Roman meals or Roman like dining events were quite gross compared to our standards now.
Yeah, different attitude towards a lot of things.
Yeah, so. But that one was cool because it had underfloor heating,
Mm.
So
Oh yeah, where you get like the little stacks of what do you call it?
hot room,
The
yeah.
little columns of I don't know what they're actually called. Where you see it sometimes like under floor heating in Roman sites, and there are like these little columns that are underneath.
Caledorium. I'm
Yeah,
terrible with Latin.
something like that.
But yeah, and it was just interesting how like that kind of technological prowess with the Romans, because like there's nothing like that in like in Evesham, in a medieval town like Evesham. So it's quite bizarre. But the thing was about this Roman villa was it was absolutely horrible to get to, and I really am not understanding how bad it was to get to. So I just thought to myself when I got there after driving there for about an hour, I just thought to myself, how the hell did the Romans get here and then set up here and then stay here and then continue to visit it even after the Roman withdrawal from Britain? It was insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I was.
I mean, I went to Hadrian's Wall last year,
Of course you did, yes.
and that was very much like you can see Hippocrates
Oh
in the
yes.
chat there. They're saying, um, but yeah, I went to Hadrian's Wall, and you very much got that feeling of like this was the edge of the world. Like, you're at the top of these huge like hills. When you stand on the actual edge of the wall, in many places, you can just see for miles back behind you, and surprisingly, not that far in front of you. In many of the places, so it really just in you know the early second century, if you were there on the edge of that wall, and you were probably given the Romans' habit of shifting and moving around groups within the empire, you were probably from somewhere very far away, so it would have seemed like you were clinging on at the very edge of the habitable world at some times around there.
Definitely. It was just so bizarre just realizing that these people traveled here. But when you go to the site, they actually have like these wooden, like, little tablet things explaining the history. And then of
Yeah,
course there he is. He pops up again. Henry VIII, 1509. Henry VIII is crowned. The villa lies buried and forgotten. So it was a ruin, and they've put a lot of like archaeological work into it. And what's interesting as well is it had a toilet block, a latrine, which was attached to the kitchen, which sounds disgusting, a toilet near your kitchen, but obviously they didn't know about bacteria or anything like that back then.
yeah, luxury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so. But yeah, it was like I say, beautiful place. Just like I said, absolutely horrible to go to. But this is why I'm very interested to go to York and see the Roman
Yeah.
ruins there, because it would be an easier drive. It would be a long drive for me, about 3 hours, but it would be a lot easier to get to.
I don't think there's actually that much in the way of visible Roman ruins in York. I might just be because my knowledge of York is just I'm in the city centre, so I might be completely wrong there. I do know that there is like a Viking experience in York that I went to years back and have no memory of.
Oh
But
God, it couldn't have been that good then.
apparently it had a lot of problems with a few years back with flooding, and it was closed for a while, but it's up and going now again.
Because they've also, I believe, if I remember correctly, they've also approved plans for a reconstruction of something medieval in York. But I'm trying to remember what it was.
Oh, that's cool.
It was a tower or something.
Hmm.
I should have looked it up beforehand. But it is cool, preserving and hopefully rebuilding them, because, like, I've been to a fair few places in the last year, and like some of them is like sad going to, but like a lot of them can be like chalked up to, a lot of them, especially the castles, were just destroyed by just the Cromwell and his men. Like Kenilworth Castle was one, Goodrich Castle was another, I believe. They just slighted them and just said, "Yep, here's a pension to the owners." And
I think I live near Wakefield, and I think something like that happened. I know Wakefield Castle is now just a single like pillar.
God.
Let me have a look if I can find it.
Oh, yeah, because Worcestershire used to have a castle, but again, that's no longer exists. There's not even any earthworks, I think, for it now, because I think they've either built over it or it's just gone.
Yeah, I know where I am. Sandal Castle is partially surviving. Like the earthworks all survive, but most of the stone masonry is now gone. But that's a cool place as well. Like, it's a really steep earthworks on it as well. So you can see how defensible a site it would be, even without the stonework. Because that when was that built? I think that literally is in one of Shakespeare's plays as well,
Oh,
if I
nice.
remember correctly. But I don't know which one.
Yeah, because going back to Evesham around probably again that time, the site was just a running ground for pigs, for the bishop's pigs. So just letting your pigs chill in the forest. Nice
Yeah,
effective way of farming.
yeah. Just let them go and scrounge around.
Yeah, no, I mean
Hmm.
it's all quite interesting, and like I said, I'm looking forward to this dig in April. I mean, like I said, I don't think we'll find anything, but it will be good.
Yeah, well, look on the bright side. You can just see what's down. You're not going to find out anything if you don't have a dig. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Although
yeah.
completely off topic, I still need to actually download those patches you gave me for Dragon Age Origins.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I've not
I
played
can.
it. I've just been playing World of Warcraft again.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, because yeah, I played through it again. It's a good game. It's interesting. They made some effort with that game to do a few things, like just basic things like let's make the teeth more historically accurate to what this sort of time period teeth would look like. And of course, immediately someone put a mod up that's like, give everyone white teeth again. So,
Definitely.
yeah, it's an interesting. I quite like that game. I mean, it's suffered in terms of aging because it came out during the Browning era of games, where everything is brown all the time, and basically, uh, it doesn't look great compared with like Dragon Age Inquisition as a result. But I quite like it. I think it feels authentically brown. Like the time period it's aping would have been moderately brown. So
I mean, did you play? Did you get the newest Assassin's Creed? You
I
did.
did just because I wanted to go and do the island bits of it. So
How did you find playing that? Because I've not played it yet.
really tedious, put it
Really?
that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really sick of the Assassin's Creed formula these days. I just entirely got it so that I could just tour around the historical places it depicted, I must admit.
Were they good? Were you impressed with them?
No, but then I'm very nitpicky.
Oh no, that's fair
So
enough. Okay.
I was like, some of the stuff where I was just like, some of the stuff I looked at, I was like, yeah, there was no point in including that, or yeah, there was no like, no one's gonna be too worried about that one. But then there's stuff where it's like literally you could find it on Google and it looks impressive already.
Hmm.
So I don't see the point in changing it to make it even more fantasy. But I'm like the slimmest and tiniest of a minority of people who cared about that. So like I'm the one guy who cares that if you go to the Hill of Tara in Ireland in that game, it looks like the actual Hill of Tara. And it sort of does,
Hmm.
maybe. Uh,
I mean, is there a period of history you'd like to be made into a video game like that's like historically authentic?
yeah, my brain goes to like again, it goes to late Iron Age, early medieval Ireland, but problem is there's a lot of uncertainty
Hmm.
around that time period. So I don't know that you could get enough out of it to do. You'd have to make big leaps, basically. So I can, like, the medieval period in Ireland, we understand better. So I wasn't as on board really for the deviations, but you could probably go pretty wild on Iron Age, like late Iron Age Ireland, like bring in all the mythology from the Tan and stuff like that, and just go wild.
Hmm.
That'd be fun. My other part of my brain says let's do something in like Anglo-Saxon Britain, but then Assassin's Creed did that, and it wasn't that interesting to me. So
Ah, that's a shame. For
yeah,
me, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind one based on the anarchy. Again, I'm obviously a big fanboy of that period, but just to show, because it. Well, I mean, it was mainly a big of an anarchy in the southwest rather than the north of England, but just to see like an authentic time period of like 12th century life, and stuff like that. I mean, I know there is a video game based around the anarchy, but it's like a point and click game, and I'm not really into those. Kind of like what I would like a
all
game
right,
where
fair
you
enough.
can just explore. like the surrounding areas. In again, a bit like Dark Souls, really. You can just go and explore. That's the thing. But speaking of Dark Souls, I will try and get Elden Ring at some point, but I'm still waiting for it to be like 100% fixed on PC.
Yeah, same. I mean, what you call it? Yeah. And when you were talking about like the point and clicky sort of thing, I don't think it's point and click, but it reminds me there is like a game based on the book Pillars of the Earth that's supposed like it made me think of that because obviously that's based around I think building a cathedral.
Yeah.
I've not read the book. I don't really know anything about it.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, or obviously the 100 Years' War. That'd be another period that I find quite interesting.
Yeah, that's surprising. Like my brain, like shouted out, "Oh, there's got to be hundreds of games that have done that period." But when I think about it, not so many. Fraser Hill in the chat. What software do you use to make your maps? I think we both use the same software, don't we?
I don't mind opening it up. So let's have a look. Let's go with what should we?
Yeah, the software's name is Wonderdraft.
Yeah, sorry, Wonderdraft. Yeah, it's quite a bit. It's about I think about 30 quid to buy. It's a pretty good map. Mapping software. Let's go with. I'm just trying to think which one to be like a good one to do. Oh god. So I think this one. Yeah, so, yeah, this is Wonderdraft. I mean, I don't mind quickly going over it, but you can basically really draw anything you want. This is one map I drew, which took me, for the longest reason, which I'm sure Charles can guess, because he's heard me rant about drawing the Greek islands many a time.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of them.
And, yeah, this is just one I have just as a backup. I haven't really edited it as much. This is just from an old video about early Welsh history of how the prequel to it. But yeah, no, it's a bloody good bit of kit. I need to actually buy they've got I suppose it's an expansion set. It like includes more theme assets. I think it's an extra 12 quid on top of it, which is fine. But it includes like a bit more like medieval buildings and other things because you've got like symbols here.
Yeah.
So like I can put in I think that's a cockatoo, I think. And yeah, so it's great for fancy maps as well. Like if you play Dungeons and Dragons as well.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people. I think because there's another part of it which is called Dungeon Draft. But I think the original selling part of the software was to make maps for D&D games, basically. But a few history. I know Flashpoint History, I think, uses it or did use it at some point, didn't he?
Yes.
To do stuff with. So I think he might be doing it with something else now. Looking at some of the stuff he's been saying on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sending him some work tomorrow. Actually, so I'll just remind myself to send that. But yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, obviously for me, Wonderdraft has just changed the approach I have for my videos. And it's hopefully made them a bit better because I do worry about my videos getting a bit stale.
Yeah, before I was literally getting the one NASA map that a lot of people use, and just going into Adobe Illustrator and just putting like here's a shape that covers the entire thing, and then I'm going to manually cut out the borders. Whereas if you have that template map made now, you can just like literally just like, I just want to paint this color border over the landmass, and you can just do it so much easier.
I mean, I'm not skilled in like animation or anything like that, or so.
Well, I'm not either. If anyone's seen my videos, so.
Yeah, I just have to rely on like sometimes just a bit of a witty output with a little comic book strips, or with the maps now. But it's just handy. It'd be like our starter pack, get Wonderdraft, Audacity, and whatever. What's that editing software called?
DaVinci Resolve.
DaVinci Resolve, and then you're set to start to work on YouTube channels.
Yeah, I think I'm not. I think you can get DaVinci Resolve completely free. I got it because it was the same brand as my camera, and it came on a little SD drive. But
I have been tempted to try out DaVinci Resolve, but I'm still quite happy with Sony Vegas. So
yeah, it's fine. It's a good editing software. I mean, if the options you have available, if you're working on free options, I'd say DaVinci Resolve is the best in terms of like not just an editing software, but also like transferable skills
Oh,
as well.
definitely. Yeah.
So like if you wanted to go into video editing and you decided then you wanted to work with like Final Cut or you wanted to work with like Premiere, well Premiere is kind of its own ecosystem a little bit, but Premiere Pro you'd get a lot of the same concepts out of it. Or Vegas Pro, for example. So, it's relatively transferable.
Definitely. I mean, we do have a friend who's actually very skilled at video editing, who obviously runs the amazing Vigo company.
Oh yeah. Yes, Byron Lewis.
Yes.
Of the YouTube channel Byron Lewis.
Yes, of Byron Lewis. A very, very lovely chap who unfortunately cannot be with us at the moment, as he's just texted me saying, "Hey, I can't make the stream." So, what a shameful man. He's obviously too busy having a life.
Yes, he's clearly off editing podcast videos for me.
Yes, so. Or Betty.
Yeah. Who is our friend, the channel Articulations.
Yes, big shout out to Articulations. But yes, that's Wonderdraft anyway. And like I say, it's got some fantastic tools on it. I'd highly recommend it if anyone who just wants to just draw. I mean, I've been experimenting with it and drawing like, let me open it up actually. Let me just discard this. Silhouettes. They look shit, so excuse me. Like, they look terrible, but I just was like, I was inspired by Rome Total War, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and draw some silhouettes, and they look okay. Like they said, that's a very rough first draft I drew. So just because I thought, well, loading screens. Yeah. Just sometimes it's just quite easy to have a still image on a video rather than having constant movement of maps and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, but yes, that is Wonderdraft.
I've made some maps of Wonderdraft. Let me see if I can throw some over to you.
Yeah.
But let me see if I can find them. This is my problem with not organizing anything, and now just looking back for old files, like, where is everything?
To be honest, this is pretty much what this stream was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never done this before, but it was a good test of water. So, because I was just like, right, I plan to talk about the Almonry, why it's important to preserve it, the history behind it, and all of that. But then I realised, actually, now that I think about it, I probably talked a bit too fast and gone over the information a bit too quickly. But never mind.
It's fine. I mean, you can always redo some of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think I got the base message out of like what the Abbey was, how it was the third largest, why the Almonry is important, because obviously it houses a lot of artifacts from Evesham, and it's just a great place of learning to learn about the local town. Because I think, if I remember correctly, there is a town called Ulster, which is not far from me, but I think it has a Roman museum. Roman museum. Yeah, it does. Yeah, Roman Ulster Museum. So free of charge.
My brain's going to, because I've been doing stuff about Ireland. My brain's going to Ulster in Ireland.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, Women Ulster. Yeah.
Oh, I threw that map in the Discord.
Oh, okay, sweet. Okay. Oh, wow. Very nice. Oh, I recognise this map.
Yeah, I will admit I basically ripped it off someone else on Wikipedia's much better version of the same map.
That's all right. That looks good. I like the blue, and I like the Egyptian New Kingdom. Yeah, you've done the same thing I do with the borders. Is I've not really set like solid borders. I've just used a color. Yeah. Because you don't know 100% for sure what the borders actually look like.
Yeah, exactly. It's easier for me to just have like that rough like overlap between them. I think it makes more sense. Right, I'm just going to nip to the bathroom. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Okay, no worries. Oh, here we are. Actually, I forgot I actually had the Evesham Abbey Trust brought up on the website, and it basically gives a short, again, basically what I said earlier about the foundations of Evesham Abbey, and how it was originally a Roman Anglo-Saxon ministry, was replaced by a Romanesque church by Abbey Walter from 1078. So yeah, I mean, it's frustrating that I can't show the abbey in its full glory, and the only thing I've got to show in its full glory is, of course, that image, which has now disappeared. Where is it? Oh, there we go. Yeah. So, like I said, time travel, I think, as me and Charles were discussing earlier, this would be one of the places I'd like to visit in its heyday, just because obviously Evesham's my hometown, and it'd be interesting to see what it looked like back in the day. But yes, I'm looking forward to this dig. Should be really good. And what I'll do is I'll catalogue the dig on Twitter as well, if hopefully they'll let me. Right, well, I'll tell you what we'll do now is I'm going to, because once I had finished talking about the Abbey, while we're encouraging donations, whether it through PayPal or Super Chats or whatever, I was going to actually play World of Warcraft, because that's medieval. Let me just log in. Oh, okay, what have if I remember my bloody password? Oh wow, okay. What the hell was the password? Okay, well, we can't do that then. Never mind. So I just tried to launch World of Warcraft, but it's not playing ball at the minute.
That sounds like World of Warcraft, yes.
Yeah. Because I was like...
You might need to change from a screen grab to a game grab.
Oh, yes, that's actually a good point there, Charles. All right, let me just see if I can actually fix the issue. But yeah, no, like I say, I got back into World of Warcraft. I sometimes do, just because it's, just nice to get into and play an old game.
Yeah, you might want to turn off your screen capture, because all your login details are on show right now.
That is a good point. Whoops. You kind of forget about these things, especially if you've never live streamed before. There we go.
I was going to say, at the most, all they've got now is that someone could email you, which they could probably already just by looking at your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So
that's not my proper email address anyway. That's just a throwaway one I've had for years.
Oh no, you are brand loyal on Steam as well, with the Embrace Historia account.
Oh yeah. Well, I just changed it because somebody a long time ago, somebody messaged me and was like, "Are you Embrace Historia?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I just thought, "Oh, I'll just change my Steam name to Embrace Historia."
Yeah.
Because it was like something like "Oh My Gummy Bears." Yeah, it's shit names.
I think a lot of us sometimes have what we call it, like how everyone has an embarrassing Hotmail name, like email name out there. I think my Steam name is how old will it be? 16 years old or something like that. And
wow.
I literally set it up when I was 15 years old or something like that. So
yeah, I mean, same with that one. It's just my father at the time was a bit smarter than me and said, no, change it to something more useful, more professional for when you get a job. And I was like, okay, then.
Yeah. Yeah, this is reminds me when I was early enough back in the days of getting Gmail accounts where I just had my name sort of as the email. So
yeah, apologies.
Was able to get away with that.
The dog barking outside. Bloody dog.
It's fine.
Yeah. So, well, I'll tell you what. If I can't play World of Warcraft, let's see how.
Play something history appropriate. Yeah.
Fallout New Vegas.
Rome Total War.
See, I tried to play that last time and it kept lagging. I don't know why.
Might have just been the internet on the day, but
yeah, we can give it a go. Let me just make sure it will work. Let me just double check. Let's try it out. go classic Rome. There we go. I assume it's showing up on screen. Oh, remind me, I don't want it too loud, so I just turned down the volume. I don't want to deafen everyone. Yeah, this is the problem.
It's just not launching.
It just no, it's working. It's just it lags. Like, I don't know if you can see it on screen, but like I'm moving my cursor and it's just lagging. Okay, it's not working. Okay, let's try. Yeah, let's just go with a game that I know should work. Fallout New Vegas. One of the best games ever made.
Oh wow, I can tell it's lagging because it's still on Rome Total War at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know why it's lagging like that. It's because my PC isn't like, you know, not decent. It's a bloody good PC.
Made of cheese, yeah.
Yeah. So let's try.
Well, whilst this is being set up, I'm doing quite good today because I was what do you call it? I've finished now, not just recording all the audio for my next video, but I've also managed to trim it down to just the good takes. So obviously I have 0 minutes on my timeline.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's going to be about 2 hours 25 minutes. It looks like.
Nice.
Which will be the longest edited video I've done.
Oh, okay. Well, that's just going to be horrible.
Yeah, it's going to take a while to edit.
Definitely.
But it is what it is.
So what I'm doing at the moment...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a place to start.
I know. Okay, I think I hit her.
I have no idea if the game audio is the correct...
I've turned it down quite significantly. Oh, it's the Deathcore Alpha. Oh no, I might die here.
Yes, I expect you probably will.
Okay, I've got Lily, so let me swap over to Light Shining in the Darkness. Yeah, I knew it'd save me. Critical Strike. I built this character to just have ridiculous amounts of critical hits, and with the Light Shining in the Darkness, quite an OP weapon if you build your character up.
Yeah, I think what I used to do in this area was I used to just equip myself with a whole bunch of like explosive weapons.
Okay, yeah. Oh,
and then I would just cripple them.
Yeah.
By just using a grenade submachine gun on them. So you just like boom, 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 boom.
I think I've already killed the matriarch before I did this save, but the alpha is the main one you want to like not.
Yeah.
Because he is horrible. So, because what was it? Oh yeah, this was the playthrough I was trying to appease everyone, which is nigh on impossible in Fallout New Vegas.
So you're doing the independent route effectively.
Yeah. I haven't killed Mr. House yet. I've just been grinding levels, and I'm currently at level 31. I've done a few of the DLCs, as you can probably tell from my outfit.
Yeah. Looking a bit pixely to me on the YouTube end. I think it's my connection. Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a bit of an old game, and I know sometimes my version, oh crap, tends to not. Oh no, this weird. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Oh, there's 4 of them. We might be dead here. Okay, let's throw down. Okay, please tell me that's going to explode. Probably not.
I'm just watching this on a lag, so all I can hear is you just panicking and nothing's happening.
I think I'm about to die. I'm just trying to think like what I can do, because there's 4 Deathclaws about to attack me.
Yeah, you're probably going to die is the answer. Yeah, this is just throws me because the last time I played that game, this is the place where I was at, but I was like again at end game level because I just didn't want to have to actually try and kill them at a low level.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of what I was saying before, the video I'm currently working on is like it is kind of hitting like I call bane of my existence levels at the moment.
Oh yeah.
So, well, I just can't wait for it to be done.
Oh, they're hostile towards me. Yeah, that wasn't the
But
plan.
it's also the first video that I, because obviously you're with the Almonry, you've got I imagine that's probably the first time that you've kind of worked with kind of an official, like, not archaeology group, but like a historian group. Like that's a little bit of what's gone on for mine as well. So I said to myself before I go to because obviously I made the Druids video and it's the best performing thing I ever did. I was like, I'm gonna have to make a follow-up video to this at some point. And the video, I was like, there's such poor resources out there for Irish archaeological sites that I'm probably gonna have to go over to Ireland and just see some of the sites and take some photos and videos and stuff.
A true professional.
Yeah, and I was like, should I? I suddenly realized, like, maybe I should just just to be on the safe side, I'm just going to email all the people who own those sites and be like, hey, am I allowed to do this? And most of them were like, yeah, just come along. So we were able to go and do some filming. We did some at the Hill of Tara, which is the big site associated with High Kings of Ireland in the medieval period and in Irish myth. We went to a place called Rathcrocken, which is, again, associated with the Kings of Connacht. So that was cool. We got to go in the actual place where the Irish war goddess, the Morrigan, is said to dwell.
Nice.
So that was very cool. We got to see, in first person, an Ohm inscription, which is the early Irish... like their first inscription or text that they had, which probably runs from about the 4th through to the 10th century.
Yeah, what was it? Irish Ogham, was it? Sorry.
Yeah, so it's called, the English is usually called Ogham, but I think it's Ohm. It's Ohm or Orm, I think, is the actual modern Irish pronunciation.
I pronounced it as Ogham when I did my Welsh videos because of the stones inscribed in Wales with Irish Ogham on them. But yeah.
I mean, I cheated, as I always do, and I called it Ohm throughout the video, but I said at the beginning Ohm, also known as Ogham. Just to nail that one on the head.
Yeah.
And then we also got to go to the ceremonial site of Ishnock, which is where the festival, the pre-Christian festival Bealtaine, is most heavily associated with. So that was cool. And then we also, we tried to go to a place called Dún Eilinia, or Knockallin, but we weren't able to get anywhere near it in the end because it's on private land.
Oh, so. Typical. Yeah, that's the problem.
And sadly we weren't able to go to Navan Fort, which would have been cool, but oh well. That's the home of Ireland's most famous hero, Cú Chulainn.
Nice.
A lot of people I know say Cú Chulainn, I think, as well, but I think it is Cú Chulainn.
Nice. Yeah.
It was a cool few days.
I've only ever been to Ireland once, unfortunately. Although I would like to go back. But it's the problem with, like I said, with the private land is when I went to, again going back to the Roman villa, there were some really nice small churches. Some lovely stuff inside of them. But again, they're all on private land, so you can't access them. Yeah,
You know, Ireland. You're probably not surprised that Ireland has a lot of churches.
Yes, of course.
Which is kind of cool. What we found was very interesting was in the parts of a lot of the old pagan sites we went to, most of them had a church attached to them in some fashion. We went near Dún Eilinia, and I think it's old Kilcullen church is there as well, which is I think a 7th or 8th century church. So that was cool to go and visit. As you say, it's kind of sad though, because a lot of them we went to and they're just as you say, they don't really have the resources to upkeep some of them. So they it was quite nice. We went to, say, old Kilcullen churchyard, and they have like an old church tower there, and obviously it had like lots of nice signs up explaining, you know, the period of time that it was all dated from, etc. So that was cool.
Yeah, because I when I've got when I'm not feeling, you know, still a bit crap from COVID, I was planning on going to Hereford, because there is some nice, like there's one some I think Neolithic stones called Arthur's tomb, which is, you know, site associated. Well, it's one of the sites probably just associated with the myth of Arthur, but yeah, that was one of the places I was going to go to. And then I've got my cousin's wedding in May, so that's in Wales, so I plan to do a bit of a detour and explore a bit of that. Make the most of that.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Our way, true to Kaiser.
It's interesting how they say Kaiser in Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah. I think oh, I could be talking complete nonsense here. There was like I think isn't that like the more authentic original pronunciation of it or something?
I think it is, actually, because I think there is no A in Latin. Again, could be talking shit, but I mean, Laser could probably tell us.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those things where I just don't know. I mean, obviously you get things like Tsar and Kaiser as historical titles that people reigned under, for example. But you know, I don't know how much that is interpreted is based on the original Latin terminology, or if it's just a case that that's how those languages rendered it.
True. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, at my school we were taught French and Spanish, not Latin.
I mean, it's more useful.
Yeah, true. So, but it would be. I mean, I wouldn't mind learning Latin. I mean, my friend who I work with, Josh, he's doing his trying to do his PhD in history. I think I'm fairly certain he can speak and translate Latin, which is quite cool.
Yeah. Isn't there, I remember hearing this ages back, isn't there a little bone of contention about how Latin was actually spoken, like as a practical language?
Yeah, there's probably different, like, obviously with variations and it changing over time, it's probably lost what it probably originally sounded like, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that's, for the video I've been making, that's one of the arguments that they, there's basically a big argument, well, it's not that big an argument, it's a big in the academic world argument of how much of the Irish tales of mythology were actually, you know, contained authentic remnants of pre-Christian Ireland, how much of it was like a later medieval invention, and a lot of it has swung in favor of the argument that most of it's medieval in composition. And one of the big things that was pointed out was basically that the way the Irish language changed between the 4th century and, you know, the 9th century, when a lot of stuff started to be written down, it makes it very difficult to retain them in any sort of accurate oral fashion. So the stories would have at least had to go through that period of modification. So, and that's I'm going by the words of there's a linguist called J.P. Mallory. So that's my source on that one. I'm not a linguist, so I haven't the slightest clue if it's correct or not.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where we just don't have the full story of everything we needed. And I mean, I'd love to. I wish there was more information I could have gotten about the plague of Justinian in Britain.
Yeah, because we just don't have the written sources for it.
Yeah. Again, when I did my video on the Cadwallon and then the plague in Wales, the plague in Wales, it was like they found bodies from like Saxon burials in England around that time, but it's just we don't know how much of the native population of the Britons were wiped out by the plague, / how it may have impacted the migration of the Saxon and the Germanic people into Britain, because we just don't have any written evidence of the plague other than archaeological data, which can tell us a bit, but not the full story, unfortunately. So
yeah, there's I think there's some argument about whether or not the Irish chronicles include the plague of Justinian or not. But I don't know much about it, I must admit.
No, but it's a fascinating period. I mean, I remember, I say the plague of Justinian isn't chronicled heavily. It's chronicled heavily, obviously, where it's where it got its namesake, from Constantinople with Emperor Justinian, because there's a really good video that the channel Epic History TV put out about the plague of Justinian, which goes over the horrifying details of like how people basically rotted away. Very similar. Well, it was the same plague as the Black Death, but yeah, it's just like, well, if that was happening in Constantinople, in a obviously a big population city like that, how big of it would have happened in like places like Londinium or Carmarthen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's just so frustrating because you can't find the answers yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those where it just may not be, barring some pretty extraordinary archaeological finds, may simply not be possible, unfortunately.
Yeah. A bit like trying to find the tomb of Alexander the Great.
Mm.
Ain't gonna happen.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they find the tomb. I'd be very surprised if they found his body.
Oh yeah. I think wasn't it encased in honey?
Something like that. It was like in a sarcophagus that physically resembled him, basically.
Problem is we know that like the Emperor Caligula actually took his breastplate from the tomb as well. So
yeah,
who knows what happened to him? Unfortunately. Sorry, Alexander, not Caligula. We know what happened to Caligula.
Well, Caligula's again. This is one of the problems with primary sources in history. It's really weird where all the people who basically wrote about the life of Caligula are people who had people had good reasons to not cast him in a favorable light. So, it's hard to say what was actually accurate. But my impression I got was basically that everyone thought he was a good ruler for the first 6 months, and then something happened, basically. And he went weird, is what a lot of the sources say. But I don't actually know much more than that. It's like Nero. It's very clear, for example, that Nero, the senators were like, oh yeah, he was condemned and everybody hated him and goodbye. And that's probably not true, because there were like legends of Nero's return for centuries after he died in the eastern part of the empire. So clearly there was some public support for for him.
A lot of propaganda after his death, yeah.
So,
a bit like a good figure with a lot of propaganda after his death is Edward II of England, especially with his supposed relationship or best friends with Piers Gaveston.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously his death, there's the local legend that he died from a red hot poker up the car. And that's just not true. They think he was either smothered or just bludgeoned to death.
Yeah.
So
Emily's saying many post-Roman Germanic polities use Latin but altered it, which is why you start having different medieval Latin versions. And people like Paul Deacon complain about it not being proper.
Wow.
Yeah, people have been doing that sort of thing for a long time, haven't they? Just complaining about what the kids are doing these days.
I mean, yeah, good parallel is British English and American English.
Yeah. Sorry, you mean English and imitation English?
Yes, sorry. Yes, those silly Americans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one way they can make it up is they can donate to the Almonry Fund and say, we're sorry for our language, here's some money.
Yeah.
Let's help repair the Almonry and keep it in good preservation.
and at the same time, the British can say, "We're sorry for everything. Here's some funds."
Are we?
So.
I was not expecting this. Sorry, I accidentally walked into the Legion camp.
Oh right. Yeah. I must admit, like, I didn't realize when I first played the game, if you basically go and what do you call it? If you basically go in and in the storyline stuff, they make you give up all your weapons. But for some reason in my head, I just thought you couldn't actually access it unless you gave up your weapons. So I didn't realize you could just literally swim across the lake and go and kill, just wipe out the entire camp.
Yes. Oh, sorry. No, I forgot. I didn't go to that Legion camp. So I went to the one in Nelson when they've taken it over, and then I've gotten to the point of the story where I bear the mark of Kaiser, and then it automatically transports you to that barracks where the legate is, and then you're like, oh hey, I can help you out, or I'm just going to be on my way. And I was just like, I'm going to be on my way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mentioned to you, I never really bothered to finish this game. Like,
no? Okay.
I played tons of it, but I was just like, I can't bother to go and finish. I've got all these other side quests to go and do.
I think I can hear in the background now is H-Bomber guy just screaming in the distance. Of like, you're not completing the main quest.
Oh, I finished it, but I did it years back, and ever since then I've not actually bothered. So, yeah. But yeah, the what do you call it? Yeah, to go off what what M Laser was saying. Obviously, yeah, you do get like the post-Roman Germanic polities using Latin and stuff like that. So obviously, when you then get the Franks propagating a lot of that from that point onwards, and suddenly, the Holy Roman Empire is a thing to horribly butcher and simplify the history there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not gonna say the John Green quote. So I mean, it's just interesting how the Caesar in this game is just basically cosplaying the Roman Empire, and like it'll definitely collapse when he dies.
Yeah, I mean that's in many ways how it doesn't resemble the actual Roman Empire. It totally relies on one guy in this game.
Yeah, because it's I always found it interesting how like the pathway like divulges of like you can aid Caesar, but then you also have the option during his aid, like you can either kill him through the brain surgery, or just like let him suffer. Because I remember reading like I haven't really done this, but if you like work for him before you give him the before you do the operation and save him and cut the tumor out, he will sometimes just like if you keep speaking to him, his headaches just return, and then he basically says leave me. But then if you keep talking to him, he orders your guards to attack you. So in fact, I might be able to. In fact, yes, I can. Let's go and see if that actually is true. Whether I'm not talking out my arse. Let's go and talk to him constantly and see what happens.
Yeah, I think the reason it probably looks a bit blurry is in the actual game. Whenever you're moving around, it goes a bit blurry. It's probably because the bitrate you're streaming at isn't high enough to cope with the game.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, I don't think there's any way to fix that without restarting the stream, so I wouldn't worry too much about it at the moment.
To be honest, like I said, this is just, first time stream. I mean, I've got it playing on my phone, and it looks okay.
Yeah, that's phone resolutions, though, so I'd be a bit careful with that.
Yeah. I'll make sure if I, hopefully, maybe in the future do another live stream for whatever specific occasion, just look into that.
Yeah. I think YouTube has like a maximum cap, I think, on what you can stream at. So it might be that, or it might be Twitch that has one of the two has a bit of a cap on it.
Need to really start using Twitch more.
Yeah, I couldn't really be. I tried it once and couldn't really be bothered after that. I must admit.
It's just I always tend to like play video games, and I think, well, actually, maybe I should just show, just chat with my audience sometimes, see what they're up to.
Yeah. I mean, I've tended to be on my channel. I've tended to have the attitude of, that place is a repository for either the videos I do that are fully edited or the podcast, or something that I've at least like planned for and has a good amount of structure to it. So like I did an interview with Stefan Milo, because he's recently put out a children's book on archaeology. And I did an interview with him for that, just to talk to him about, what it's like doing history YouTube in general, and also wanted to give him a bit of a chance to talk about his project there. So I at least was like, that was more structured because I knew I had like a big list of questions and had thought about the topics well in advance. So that was, that was fine in terms of, I was happy with putting that up on the channel basically because it was history related enough. Whereas, I've seen people do that before where they'll stream, they'll have like a channel with edited videos and then they'll stream on top of that as well. And that's not really my sort of speed. I'd prefer to like have a separation between the more casual content and the bit of the repository for it.
Yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed that video where you just chatting to another history creator because it's good to know others' processes and just how they work.
Yeah.
Because we're all part of this lovely history community, which is quite a nice community to be a part of. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really have the drama that any of the other communities on YouTube seem to have, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, the worst drama I've seen is just the jokey drama, with Laser and Kings and Generals, but that's all good faith,
Yeah, it's an interesting community to be in.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm glad I've started it because I've met some, again, fantastic people. I met you through doing YouTube and met Jasmine and Byron and, all great channels.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with this because it complemented my channel. So
yeah,
definitely.
So, wow, we've got a nice variety. Jasmine with her GCSE history and
Jasmine is the channel a long time ago.
Sorry, I keep forgetting this. I'm not very good at this. So
it's cool.
And then obviously Catherine of Hidden Yorkshire History. And then Willie. Wow, Willie doesn't obviously have Canubus.
The channel Canubus.
I was just thinking, shit, what's his channel's name? Canubus and his videos, but again, his history, but then there's also like geographical and geography as well.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. He's more they're more what I'd call like a pure educational YouTuber rather than just history only sort of thing.
Definitely, yeah.
Like I'd put someone like almost in the category of someone like Mr. B to something like that.
Yeah. I've been speaking to Guthalak as well, and he's the channel Guthalak. Again, he's another creator I quite admire because he's done early Middle Ages as well, and I quite enjoyed his video on can we trust Gildas and Bede as sources and that kind of in-depth analysis.
Yeah, he had a good video that was about how the early Anglo-Saxon polities and kingdoms formed. It was just like, saying it's not really a case of, some mythical king, like, with a founder showing up and just carving out his kingdom. It's probably like a long, slow process of one guy in an area slowly gets enough influence to become a prosperous elite in the area, and then you start out with lots of guys with small kingdoms as a result that over time get consolidated down. And then by the time history shows up, there's the heptarchy of Anglo-Saxon history showing up, where you got things like Northumbria, Mercia, East Anglia, Kent, and Sussex, Wessex, all those, Lindsey and all those sort of places. And the Cornish's own kingdom as well. I can't remember how to pronounce that one.
Oh, yeah, I have a map actually, but I can't remember how to pronounce it. But then obviously similar to the Welsh kingdoms, really, with like Gwynedd and Powys, and they're quite interesting how they developed. Because again, similar to, as you said, with the Anglo-Saxon ones, they just formed local strongman, accumulated power, kept that power, and then later generations tried to tie themselves back to earlier figures like Magnus Maximus, a Roman emperor, genealogy, but then it's like, well, actually, no, that's not, that's not the case, because you've just made it up to promote your own image. So again, kind of like a fake it till you make it thing you have nowadays with influencers.
Yeah, basically. This might be my ignorance of the sources. I'm surprised you don't get more. You get things going on like Anglo-Saxon kings, like tracing their lineages back to Woden and stuff like that. I'm surprised there wasn't more until the later Anglo-Saxon period. There wasn't more of an effort to tie themselves kind of to Imperial Rome in the early days. There might have been. I might just be ignorant of it.
I mean, yeah, because now that I think about it, yeah, because there is a lot in Welsh history of Welsh kings doing that, really trying to tie themselves to either Vortigern or Magnus Maximus or Maxin Ledig, as I think is the pronunciation in Welsh. So yeah, it's a bit weird, but again, I suppose they're thinking about it I think the explanation, I think John Davies, who wrote the book History of Wales, one of the source materials I use, he basically said that they needed it as a reason to explain why they had the power they had then, as well as to continue their own dynasty of saying, hey, I was part of the Roman Empire is over, but we're the next continuation of it, so therefore I have the authority.
Yeah, I mean, you saw something going on later on in the medieval period, like what's his name, Athelstan was a real big fan of doing that. I think his official title was Imperator and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, because and the notion, because some of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms worked with the Welsh kingdoms. So the best example I could think of is Cadwallon of Gwynedd working with Penda of Mercia to take out Northumbrian hegemony of. At the time, it was like Northumbria was probably the most powerful kingdom in Britain at the time, and those two basically teamed up and then took the kingdom down, because the Venerable Bede basically chastises Cadwallon quite heavily for his actions, calling him a butcher and saying he wanted to wipe the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms off the face of the earth. But then there's like, hold on, there's a strong contradiction there, mate. He allied with an Anglo-Saxon king and fought with him in several battles, so you're chatting shit there, Bede. Sorry to...
Yeah, I mean, that's just going to be those early chronicles, though, because, we don't know that he really understood the politics of what was going on there. He might just heard it secondhand, or, be going by what was attributed to them much later, for example.
Well, Bede has a sort of prejudice towards the Welsh when reading his work, but... it is what it is. Yeah.
Well, there's a few similar things going. Like, it's not really to the same level, but there's a few bits and pieces of like continental things to do early medieval Ireland that just sort of confuse the matter more. Like, there's a guy called Prosper of Aquitaine who, St. Patrick is thought to be a historical person, but a lot of the stuff that's said about him is thought to be much later invention. But basically, Prosper of Aquitaine was like, oh yeah, in the year 431, this guy called Palladius was sent to minister to the Irish. And it's like, okay, well, that's 1 year before St. Patrick showed up in Ireland, according to much later chronicles. Is that event then, in the later chronicles, is it a case they're confusing the arrival of Palladius with Patrick? Or was it coincidentally around the same time? Because some chronicles acknowledge they both showed up.
Yeah.
So it's a complete mess, basically. And then, as St. Patrick became a more important national saint, a lot of his deeds then overshadowed or were taken directly from Palladius and given to him. So yeah, it's that period of history again. As I said before, it's an interesting one, but it's such a muddle to figure out what was really going on a lot of the time.
Yeah, really convoluted. Yeah.
Yeah, because things like the Irish chronicles, they go back into the 4th century and stuff, but you're this probably wasn't written until the 6th or 7th century, so that's a while to go back.
Yeah. No, I same with some of the
Someone finally put down
Same
that
with
sick
some of the Welsh stuff. If like there's a book called the Book of Llandaff, which basically details like some of the earliest kings and whatnot, but it's written in the 11th century.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the yeah. That's just that period all over. Like Ireland, if you go by its traditional accounts, has a history that goes back 5,000 years, like a written history. But the reality is that the Leia Gavala Éireann, I think, when does that actually? The Book of Takings of Ireland. Let me check. When was that? When's the most recent copy of that? So I think the first copy of that dates from like the 11th century.
Yeah.
So it's pretty,
I'm trying to remember, but I remember obviously during the 11th century there was a sort of ecclesiastical, like, not really a revolution, but a big push for like divinity and promotion of saints and cults and whatnot. So a lot of building projects of churches being done, and I wonder if that like ties into it, of them promoting it, of like, yeah, we've just built these churches, let's connect it with some of the earlier history.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty common throughout history. So
Yeah, true. I mean, but in terms of important places like pubs, one of the earliest pubs near me is in a small village called Honeybourne, and it's 13th century pub, and you can tell it's 13th century because even if you're like 5'9" like me, you still have to duck down to get in there.
Yeah.
Because it's just so short. But yeah, that's probably the oldest pub near me. I imagine probably where you are, you probably got quite a few old pubs as well.
Not really where I am, but I'm aware of. There's some in York, but there's a few in Nottingham. It's not too far away from where I am. It's about 50 minutes down the road. But Nottingham has a few pubs that do that whole sleight of hand, where like they got a pub called Old Trip or the Jerusalem, Old Trip to Jerusalem, that claims to have been there since basically the Norman Conquest.
Yeah.
But that might be true that there was a pub, like there was an ale house there, but I'm pretty certain there's no proof of continuity there whatsoever. So, and then there's again another pub across the road that claims to be like younger by 100 years or something like that.
Yeah, Nottingham is like probably, for us anyway, if we were all to meet up, instead of like a VidCon London, it should just be VidCon Nottingham, because that's like the middle for all of us in the UK anyway.
Yeah.
So, because two of our friends are based in Sheffield, not Sheffield, Winchester / Southampton. I'm based in Worcester, and obviously you're based in York, so like Nottingham is like the perfect place to go, really.
Yeah, but let's not talk about our friends whilst they're not here, so to speak.
Of course. So, but yeah, I mean, I've never been to Nottingham myself, but I want to, because again, there's a lot of history there.
As someone who lived there for 10 years, it's mediocre.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a nondescript town.
Yeah.
Like the city, I mean. It's good now, it's got a tram. You can get around.
Oh, has it got a tram? Very nice.
Yeah. So, and also being in Yorkshire, I get to falsely claim that Robin Hood was actually from here anyway, so I don't need to go to Nottingham. Sherwood Forest is a bit of fun, yeah.
There's no real folklore hero type figure that I can boast about in the Worcestershire area.
Yeah, I think
there's no
like,
one that springs to mind.
Should be VidCon Vienna, so it's middle for everyone in the EU. Yeah, that makes sense. M Lasers thing. Yeah, I think in that case it should be like VidCon Bavaria, make it even more like central.
Wow, yeah, I'd love to go to Bavaria, see Neuschwanstein Castle. I think I'm pronouncing it probably incorrectly, but yeah.
Right, I'm gonna run off and refresh my drink.
Yeah, no worries. Check out this golden gecko. So one thing I like about Fallout New Vegas is the sniping on it. Okay. VidCon Vienna, though. That does sound interesting. Uh-oh. I've never been to Vienna, so again, another reason to go is be like VidCon. Check it off my list. I've never been to a VidCon, because the one I remember everyone going to in 2019, before the start of bloody COVID, so there's not been one since, I don't think. That's the problem. In fact, again, COVID problem, because obviously I had it like literally 2 weeks ago, so the thought of being in an enclosed space at the moment just terrifies me. But I would like to go to a VidCon and meet other history YouTube creators, because I've only met 2 so far, IRL. But it would be nice to meet a group of people who all have the daily struggle of making content and trying to think of new ideas and make videos. Because that's one of the hardest parts I find in the whole YouTube process, is actually just starting the video. Like, I can sit there for a good hour thinking of an intro, and I'm like, I can't think of how to open this video. Like, I actually wrote a script, which I tried to stick to when I'm doing this live stream, but then I'm like, I'm not really good at ad-libbing, so I have to write a script and just speak from that. Otherwise, I'm just going to stumble over my words and just sound like a fool. But I'm glad we're doing this live stream, and hopefully we can encourage some more donations to the Almonry. I did see somebody donated earlier, so thank you for that. And of course Charles did as well. So thank you for that immensely as well.
No, it's fine.
But, yeah. So, that's... Yeah. It's quite, I mean, the annoying thing is obviously I'm not at the point where I can actually link it on the YouTube, because I've got to have like 10k. So maybe one day. We say the goal this year is to hit 10,000 subs. So.
Yeah, sounds doable.
Yeah. Oh. Definitely should be doable. See, I'm against some bloody mole rats, and I think, well, actually, I don't really want to use a decent weapon. Ooh. Charge. I was going to use the that weapon you can get. Oh, what's it called? It's, well, you can see it on the thing. It's this Poseidon energy one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know which one you mean.
But you've got to wait. I'll tell you what, let's... Oh, I can't wait the 10 minutes. There we go. Lily killed it. If I wait a little bit, it should.
I remember trying to use that like orbital laser thing on the what you call it, on the Deathclaw like matriarch, and being like, "Ha ha! Here's your comeuppance," and then it didn't kill her.
Oh shit!
I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, because you think it'd be like an OP like one-shot weapon. Okay.
Yeah. Because you can only use it like once a day or something.
Yeah,
so.
But you know you can. The game doesn't realise it, but you can actually pick up 2 of them, 2 of the same guns. So I'll tell you what. I mean, this isn't a proper playthrough. So what I'll do. Oh, okay. No, Lily. Oh my god.
I was watching the weight thing in the background, so I have no idea what's happening.
I think Lily broke it. I tried to aim it and it started working, but now it's just glitched. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I'll wait another 24 hours. Well, that was a huge disappointment. Yeah, I'll be honest, sometimes Fallout New Vegas isn't the most stable game to play.
Yeah.
I've had it just... I'm surprised it hasn't crashed, actually.
Were you talking about the writing process? I see Emily is saying something about it.
Yeah, I was... While you went for the drink, I was basically saying how I would like to go like to a VidCon, blah, 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 but then, COVID, da-da-da-da. And then I was just like... I went on a tangent about starting at, like, how it is to share the creating process with other creators and how frustrating it is to even just start to make a video, because like I can spend like a good hour just on the introduction.
I can spend like 3 or 4 days on an introduction sometimes.
So I mean, it's just like thinking of the right thing to say to get you in that space of, yep, now I can carry on forward.
If anyone's trying to write like a scripted video, I would always encourage them to write the introduction last.
Really? Ah.
Because then you actually 100% know everything that's in the video at that point. And you can give probably the most apt summary of it. And also it means then you can put off having to write the hardest part for as long as possible.
It's not a bad way. See, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just going to try and do the... Yeah, I think Lily broke this gun, actually. So I'm just going to have to put it away. That's a shame. She ran in front of it, and then it, like, changed the parameter of it, and then it just stopped working, so... Never mind.
Just is what it is.
Yeah, Fallout New Vegas. Still a great game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what I've actually... Because I've done a lot on this character. I think the only thing I haven't done is... Yeah, the DLC for the Divide. We'll probably like...
Yeah, I never played any of the DLC because I kind of felt like I'd had my fill at that point.
Okay. Yeah, the DLC, I mean, they're good. They are good. The Canyon Divide, the main guy from that, he has probably like... It's like somebody took sandpaper to his voice box and just grounded it down. Like his voice is very rough. And his justification for hating you is a bit weird. But, yeah. Still, it's better than Fallout 3's DLC.
Yeah, I think the only DLC I played for Fallout 3 was the one which gave it an ending. That made sense. Well, it didn't make sense, but was better than the thing it shipped with. Put it that way.
I mean, still can't top, like, the greatest video game ending of all time, which everyone agrees was perfect and flawless, and that was Mass Effect.
Yeah. Definitely no controversy there. Yeah.
No. I've still not played Mass Effect 3, and I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, I think that I get the sense they're trying to rescue the franchise by advertising like a Mass Effect like 4, but they haven't. There's not been any sign or anything for quite a while.
No, and I don't know. I mean, did they remaster or remake? No, they remastered them.
They did like a trilogy re-release. So, you know, that was what you call it? Oh, what you call it? That was yeah. I think that's like the last thing I really had any interest into Mass Effect. So, like, I played Andromeda, it was fine. Which is kind of damning for a game, but you know, I don't think it was as bad as a lot of people thought it was at the time.
I don't know. I saw it and I thought I kind of didn't really care for it. I was just like, well, I'm not playing this Master Chief, wrong franchise, Commander Shepard.
Yeah.
So I was just like, yeah, no, can't really be bothered to buy that.
Yeah. I mean, my impression of it was a perfectly functional game. It just, you know, was nothing special, and yeah, that's really it.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a cardboard, and it seems to be working. So.
Okay. Oh dear. Just my internet has been playing up the last few days, and I really hoped it doesn't go tonight. Because yeah, that's not a good time to go when I'm trying to in the middle of a bloody fundraiser.
So, I think there's been a couple of donations over on the crowdfunding, the Just Giving page.
Let me see if I can bring it up on my phone quickly. Oh yeah, they've hit their initial target of 500.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. So thank you for that, everyone. Let me just see. What's the date today? 10th.
10th.
Looks like they got a few donations today. 1, 2, 3, 4 donations today. Chap Darren donated £40. Thank you for that, Darren. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the one underneath a fee or a fee as well for £20. That's cool.
Excellent. No, well done. That's
Yeah,
the only problem
and I
is
think-
I'm just like, how do I track how much we've actually raised?
Yeah,
I
I
really
think
should thought it through.
we got effectively a couple of hundo from us, from our personal donations.
Yep. So
there as well.
£100 from me, £100 from yourself.
Hmm.
I think somebody donated, if I check earlier, they donated through PayPal.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael Ewing. Yep. They sent £73.38. So yeah, quite a bit raised already. So only
Yeah.
another 1.9 point to go.
Yeah.
So
There's
hopefully.
over £300 between us all.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
pretty good.
That's good. That's good. So and then obviously we're expecting Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos
Yeah.
to suddenly just roll up and be like, "Here's the
To
rest of it."
spontaneously combust. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
good. Sorry, let's not get political on this charity. Yeah. thing.
I'm just trying to think. I think I'm trying to think what I'm about to do here. Oh yeah, you got to free the robot. So I haven't played this game in so long.
Yeah, like it's one of those weird games. I could tell you loads about maybe the first 40% of the game, and then just like some random things like the vault you go to that's like been overtaken by the plant experiment. That's a really cool part of the game.
Vault 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the one. It's really, really good. Because it kind of like subverts all your expectations of vaults that you see. Because I don't think any of the vaults had like a plant experiment in it to that point. So it's and it's kind of like a almost like a classical sci-fi horror scenario as well. I think it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the only problem is I personally hated that vault.
Oh, right, fair enough.
I kept getting. The reason I hated it, not because like the enemies were annoying or something, I just kept getting lost.
Oh,
I could
yeah, I can
not-
see that. There's like these weird bits where you go out of the vault into like the caves and stuff like that.
That's what's confused me. I think a lot of the time.
Yeah. I think I'm just remembering that there's a really cool weapon that you find in there as well.
Oh
But yeah.
yes. Oh yeah, because you help that scientist, the ghoul scientist lady.
Hmm.
Why is she not? Oh dear. Yeah, you help her, and then she's like, because it gives you sort of a moral dilemma as well. Because at first there's several ways you can get to that vault. You can either get to it on behalf of that NCR scientist who wants the
Yeah.
material, but then the other scientist wants to destroy it, and you can keep her and say to her, look, if we keep it, we can use the research for future generations.
Yeah.
So it gives you a nice moral dilemma.
I think it's, if I remember correctly, I think she's really hard to convince to what you call it, to let you actually keep it.
Yeah.
Because I think all the times I've ever gotten that far, I ended up having to like fight her basically because I was like, oh, okay, or I just I just destroyed the research. So, but yeah.
I mean, because sometimes you can like not find her.
Yeah, the first couple of times I did it, I didn't find her because I didn't realize she was in there, and it's a big, huge vault. So
Okay, she's not coming out, so I think it might be glitched. So if I
possibly
okay, let's try. Let's see what other games have we.
bot pod status. I'm probably way behind on the thing.
Yeah, I
just
just
realised.
closed it for now. I'm just trying to think what else to launch to show off. I'll tell you.
We've got to have a historical game of some type.
Shall we? Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's try Medieval 2.
Yeah, that's a good
Let's
idea.
launch that and see if that works.
Yeah, my experience of Medieval, like Rome Total War and Medieval 2 Total War, were both games that I could barely play on my computer. So,
Dude, same. I had. Let me just turn the volume because the choir music is incredibly loud. I had an old laptop. I was only like, God, I don't know how old was I. When did it? No, so Rome Total War came out in 2004. So I was about 11, 12-ish. I think, yeah, I must have been. And my mother bought me a laptop, which was terrible. But she bought it with, you know, best of intentions. But, and I this is with disk drive as well. I installed Rome Total War, and it could barely run.
Yeah.
So,
I think I had a similar experience where I was bought a laptop for sixth form, and I could just play the first Fable game on it. Just.
God, Fable.
Like, on paper, I had all the minimum requirements, but it was in that era of games where even if you had the minimum requirements, it still might have trouble. So yeah, it was an interesting experience trying to play it. I managed to finish it. Looking at how I was playing it back now, I've no idea how I managed to do it. So.
No. I mean, I then got a different laptop, a compact laptop. And that could play Rome, but then I bought Medieval 2 on disc. You know, because this is before Steam.
Oh wow, on disc.
Yeah. I've still got the discs actually. They're in a little plastic container under my bed that I just, you know, I mean, I can't do anything with them, but I just keep them for nostalgic value. But yeah, I bought the gold edition of this like a few years later, and I just thought, I can't wait to play this Medieval 2 game. You know, it's successors to Rome Total War, so it's going to be better, and in a ways it is. But then I played it and I was like, I can't run it. It won't run. It was really laggy, and I was like, oh, for Christ's sake. So I ended up saving more money and actually building a PC then.
Yeah. Speaking of like keeping, I've got a load of old like Xbox 360 games I just keep that they're just in a big box in a cupboard I've never got round to doing anything with. So what I ended up doing was there's a bunch of those games where they were like Xbox 360 exclusives. So I'm like, well, I want to replay some of these. I'm going to get like an Xbox One X because it's like a pre-owned one is quite cheap now.
Yes, I've got an Xbox One.
So I can just replay all the old games, and they'll like now that they've got the backwards compatibility, a lot of them have been prettied up over time. So that's like higher resolution, higher frame rates, and better lighting and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, let's give that a try. That'd be good.
Because I've got an Xbox One that I bought when I used to work for like a courier's company. Got it cheap, but then on top of it, I've got an old silver PlayStation Simline on top of it. So.
Oh wow, yeah, that's going back now.
Yeah, like, you know, really old kit, but it still looks right. I've got it hooked up to a 32-inch television.
Yes, it's not going to be too stretchy. Yeah.
No.
Too pixely, I should say. Yeah.
So I've just launched the Battle of Pavia on Medieval. See, I don't get this because it's running smooth on my thing while I'm streaming, but then Rome didn't, and I'm like, why? It's really bugging me.
Yeah. It's so
odd.
It's some games and sometimes it's some games and some of the ways you capture them. So sometimes games where you run them through game capture and some of them you run them through screen capture, they have different results.
Yeah.
I know that.
I mean, I had to edit the files on Rome to have it play in 2K on my monitor's max resolution, but thankfully Medieval's got the support that it can play it.
Yeah. Looks to be running a bit smoother on the YouTube side of things in terms of like the picture quality.
Maybe it's the games then.
I think it's just the bit rate, because whenever you move in the game, it just falls apart. So
it might go to shit then when I clash with the enemy. But yeah.
But yeah, this game's got some interesting ideas in terms of like I always compare this game to Crusader Kings 2 and 3, where because they didn't have to have the battle simulations for those later two games, they put a psychotic amount of detail into the overworld map style gameplay version of this. And obviously this game was trying to do several other things other than just the campaign map. So they have like things like, you know, rather than having like a single Holy Roman Empire, they have like I think they have like Germany or just like the Holy Roman Empire, and then they have Milan and Venice, I think, as well as separate.
Yeah, in this game, yeah.
Which is interesting. And what they tend to do is like to give you something to conquer that isn't another nation. They have like these rebel lords, basically. or whatever they are. Yeah, Canubis in the chat saying when the steady shots are crisp, but it gets a little pixelated when the camera moves.
Oh god, the camera is incredibly sensitive.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay. I'm trying to get a shot. Let me just go through this. Oh wow. Okay, yeah. Okay, let me just knock down the camera rotation speed. Okay, so yeah, so the French. I'm just gonna pause it. The French cavalry are about to charge my pikemen. So let's see the fucking frame rate or the bit rate, whatever, goes to shit now. Okay, no, it looked like it held up. Oh wow, no, the stream's still behind. God damn.
Yeah, that's I've seen what's been like, depending on how good your internet is. Obviously, with Discord, you can then stream it to the person that you're
yes, of course.
talking with, but probably not worth trying to run 2 streams simultaneously.
No. And I just realised.
Wow, those knights just getting overwhelmed by those pikes there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get flanked in a minute unless I do something.
Which side are you playing? Oh, you're playing as
I'm playing as the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah. Well, those knights wiped themselves out.
Yeah.
Well done, those guys. But yeah, this was a weird game for me in that I never really played the battles. I just kind of auto-resolved my way through them.
Oh, fair enough.
Because I was just lazy and didn't understand tactics. So that was always interesting to watch. But yeah, I basically just like build up a stack of doom and then auto-resolve. And also half the time I couldn't be bothered fighting all the battles either. So.
No, that's a fair point. I know I quite enjoy the historical battles anyway.
Yeah.
Just because they're quite.
That's fair enough.
You know, just it's quite interesting to, because there was a show many years ago hosted by the historian Dan Snow and his father, where they basically would just recreate the battles on using their own animation, you know.
Yeah.
And I always like, oh, I really wanted to do that, and then obviously I got Rome Total War, and then I was like, yeah, I can do these, like the battle at Lake Trasimir, where you play as Hannibal Barca, you know, against the Romans. I really enjoyed that that battle itself, but then like there's the battle at Teutoburg Forest, which is just the worst thing in the world to play as, because you can't. I've never been able to do it. Never been able to do it because you just get absolutely eviscerated.
Yeah, the what was it? Oh, just a general reminder, folks. If you fancy donating towards the, I keep saying the word wrong. I think is it Almonry?
Almonry.
Yeah.
However you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, to the restoration of Callum's local museum in Evesham. You can always check out the Just Giving link that's in the description of this live stream, or you can pop either a super chat here, or Callum has also got his PayPal listed, and all of that funds are going to go straight to, I think they're probably going to go straight to the Just Giving page eventually, aren't they?
Yeah, or I'll just donate it in person via check, whichever's convenient. Yeah. I still need to liaison with the Almonry as to how they want to receive the money. So, oh crap, heavy cavalry. Yeah, so however they want to receive it, I need to actually ask them.
I'm so far behind on this stream watching the actual battle. I have no idea if you're doing well or not, basically.
I'm not doing great, let's just say that.
Oh, okay.
Like I say, I'm not great at these games. I've played them, but I'm not good at them. I'm trying to kill the French king, basically.
I don't actually know what the can't remember what the outcome of this battle was in
French king
actual
gets,
history, which is good for me.
A French king gets captured.
Oh, right.
Oh, we've just killed him.
Oh, well, bye, Francis.
Yeah.
Francis, which Francis? Is this Henry VIII contemporary Francis?
Yeah, this is the guy who like tripped him up at that.
Yeah, filled with cloth of gold.
Yeah.
Who out like that's what a moment in history. The the English king and the French king challenged them like each other to a wrestling match. Like you're just like there thinking that they have like WWF like walkout music beforehand and.
Yeah, the Tudors. Tudors do it quite well in the TV show, where they basically like just have him get tripped up, and then he's like really raging of like, oh fuck this guy, you know, I wanna, you know, I'm gonna call this off. I don't want to, I don't want to be here anymore. And then like Cardinal Wolsey's like calming him down, you know, like a petulant child.
Yeah, I never saw any of the Tudors, I must admit.
Missing out. It's a good show.
I think all I remembered was like the adverts that made sure to point out that there's a lot of sex in this, and that's about it. So,
I mean, you say it's a good show, and the main guy in it, I forget his name now.
No, I don't really remember. I remember looking a bit like Bill Young. That's about it.
Oh yeah, I forgot the main goal of this battle is actually to take out the cannons. I've been slaughtering like the French.
Too busy slaughtering the enemy army to worry about the actual objectives.
Well, it's just oh crap! I'm trying to avoid the pikemen and have my arquebusiers engage them. Oh no, they've already retreated. The sound of the guns is making them shit themselves. Then again, I suppose you would if you hadn't heard. In fact,
yeah.
Let's take out this crossbow one quickly. If you've never heard a gun shooting off before, it's a terrifying thought.
Oh yeah, like I mean, I think we sometimes have to accept that a lot of the things we hear on a day-to-day basis, like in prehistory, would be just like completely out of the norm or terrifying in some circumstances.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like you know, like I was walking my dog earlier past the fields, and I think he's got one of those timed things that goes off that's like a bullet sound, that a gunshot sound to scare birds or something. And I was like, yeah, like this, like if you go back far enough in prehistory, there's people who were thought that if you could make metal, you were a wizard. Like it's you know, we take a lot of things for granted in modern society.
Definitely.
Like in Irish, to go back to Irish mythology yet again, like there's all sorts of stuff like not Irish mythology, but early Christian like prayers and stuff in Ireland are like, hey, here's a hymn to protect you against the spells of druids and false prophets and witches and also blacksmiths, because they're thought to have magic.
Yes. I mean, to be fair, I did think they were magic when I saw them.
Yeah, I mean, they objectively are magic.
You know,
so.
like them crafting the metal. Like obviously, where I live, there are a lot of medieval festivals. Like there's one in my hometown. There's one in Worcester. There's one in Tewkesbury. And they're great, but they always have blacksmiths there, and you just like this old man. Oh, the big one. Okay. This old man. Well, not old man, but you know, passionate man doing it, and then like he just seemed like a complete wizard.
Yeah. It's like there's a guy who makes replicas of like Stone Age equipment and stuff like that, Neolithic equipment. And I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He has like a YouTube channel as well, so I'm just going to look that up in the background.
Yeah.
He does like replica stuff. Let me have a look. Oh, James Dilly, I think his name is.
Okay.
There's Ancient Crafts I'm thinking of.
Nice.
And he does some really, really cool stuff. Like a lot of replica metals, like Bronze Age weaponry, bangles, and like really interesting things. Like he like one of the things I think he did back in the day was he was doing like picks that people would have used to mine in ancient places, like the Great Orme in Wales, for example.
Yeah.
So like, they were made of antler, and they used that to mine out the copper. So that's kind of cool. But you see these people like who have dedicated themselves to knowing about like these ancient technologies that have just fallen by the wayside for most of the populace, and you think, wow, these are going to be the only survivors if the bombs ever drop. Like they'll be the ones who they know how to make a stone arrow so you can shoot a deer. So
Yeah. Oh, God.
although it'll be probably be wild cows or something, or pigs or something, because if society collapsed, then I imagine a lot of our animals would still be kicking around. A lot of them would die out because they're just too domesticated at this point to survive without humans. Like a sheep, if a sheep falls on its back, it's dead without a human, basically.
Sorry, how did we get to this grim topic?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I've just launched,
Battle of Hastings.
Yeah, I've just launched Battle of Hastings. So speaking of like colossal seismic changes in history, like here's one of the most important ever in world history, I would argue.
Yep, the only event in history according to GCSE British history.
Yeah. I mean, you can't.
That and World War II. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't deny the significance of Hastings. I will literally die on this hill like the Saxons did on how important Hastings is.
I mean, I would argue it's very important for the nobility. I'd say for wider life in the country, you might not have noticed anything changing other than the Lord you answers to might now have to learn French.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking like a worldly impact, because like with the arrival of the Normans in Britain anyway, you've got them eventually going into Ireland and Wales and interfering with Scotland.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, maybe with the exception of France, I think all of those would have happened anyway, because the Anglo-Saxon kings were already messing with Wales and Scotland.
Yeah. And to a degree, like the previous king, Edward the Confessor, was actually took refuge in Normandy when his father was ousted.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Another small anonymous donation, £5 over on the Just Giving page.
Oh, excellent!
So thank you very much.
To the grave or through the shield wall and onwards to the throne of England.
There you go. Sweet.
Mm. But I mean, even though I've said that, it was a fairly seismic event. So,
right,
and we got a cool tapestry out of it as well.
Yes,
so.
yes. See, the thing is actually, when I do this battle, what's interesting about the Saxons in medieval Total War 2 is you actually can't play as them in the campaign unless you hack the game.
Oh yeah.
They have very limited troops. They literally have 3 troops: the Thanes, the Huskarls, and that's it. And I think archers.
Isn't there what you call it? Am I thinking wrong of this? Is there an expansion to this game where you like set in like the Viking times?
There is one.
Am I thinking of the first medieval Total War?
Yeah, it's the first one you're probably thinking of. But there is one set during the First Barons' War. In England, where you can either play as the Welsh, Irish,
yeah, I remember that one.
Scottish, and then the English. But the English are like OP at the start, but then they have the Baron Civil War. So, right. Oh God, I forgot how you actually do this historical battle. I think.
Yeah. So I'm thinking he's got a lot of troops. Yeah.
We need to punch through, don't we? Okay.
I think they might want you to do the actual historical thing, which was the forced retreats, maybe.
Yeah. So
and then the cavalry.
I'm gonna pepper them first, because I mean, weirdly, those Huskarls don't like using their shields, apparently.
Okay, that's like the whole. At the time, like the Anglo-Saxon battle line was based around the shield wall, wasn't it? Yeah.
If I zoom in on them, you can actually see them just holding their axes, like, yeah, I don't need my shield, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, everyone spoke like that.
They all had like broad northern accents.
Yeah. They were like, yeah. We're them bloody house girls from Yorkshire. Toughest,
They all sounded
toughest
like
bu-
Compo from Master Some Wine.
There you go. And then what I like about the battle map actually is it's probably one of the best looking ones in the game.
Yeah, there's so much of it that probably doesn't come into play looking at it.
Yep. I mean, it's. I know it's probably going to look like shit when I do this, but I'm just rotating around.
Attack the Huskars on the Saxon flanks.
Yeah, attack the Huskars on the Saxon flanks. He's basically telling me. But he doesn't tell me which ones to attack. So, what I'll do is I'll send one cavalry unit to just smash in to them. Also, the theme. I mean, I don't have the soundtrack on very loud, but the music in this game is banging.
Yes, it is. That was always a highlight to me of especially the early games. Like, I think the first medieval Total War took a whole bunch of it basically just took a whole bunch of historical themes and used them again. And I think this always threw me. Everyone would talk about in the game The Witcher 3 the fields of Ard Skellig. That actually includes, I think they sampled the same ancient piece of music as was in one of the tracks in the original medieval Total War.
Oh, nice.
And for years, for weeks, I was like, what? Is this, what do you call it? Am I just imagining this, or did they just straight up take this theme from, from Total War? But, wow, those cavalry got smashed.
Yeah, but they're doing the thing now.
Didn't he do the thing where, like, oh yeah, see, they're just broken their formation in a really weird way now?
Yeah, I'm trying to think which ones to pick off. Oh, they've stopped retreating.
Yeah. The
Right. Well, I mean, technically, I have to get William unhorsed 3 times.
What?
He got unhorsed
Wow.
3 times in the battle.
Wow.
But you can't unhorse
I'm guessing
him.
that's like a semi-scripted event when it happens.
I think so, yeah, because this is actually part of the tutorial. Because they did a whole big cutscene of the event where William is speaking perfect English in a very English accent and is like, hey, we got to stop these guys.
Didn't you, for a joke, put up a clip
I
from
did, yeah.
that? Yeah. the most unseen clip from Medieval 2 Total War, where it's just ridiculously ahistorical.
Yeah.
Where they're wearing like the 3 lions for no reason.
Oh mate, I know. Then again, I've messed up in terms of one of my videos.
No, that is historical, isn't it? The 2 lions is Normandy.
Yeah. Sorry, yes, the two lions.
Yeah, I'm wrong there. Yeah.
But if you click on his, if I click on his character, the flag is of the 3 lions.
Oh, okay.
In fact, why don't we just?
Just steamroller in.
Yeah, I'm just trying to punch through and then just. In fact, what am I doing? Why don't I just hit King Harold with my fucking archers?
Ooh. Yeah, I always used to be terrible at the tactics for this game.
So am I.
Because I would just rely on the headlong charge, basically. I remember, it's weird. Is this an AI thing, or is it like because it was? You said a kind of a tutorial thing.
Yeah. This is a historical battle that the AI controlled. But the thing is, if the AI was smart, I'm trying to push through at the moment. Oh, they are doing it now. Yeah, they're going to surround me. That's the problem. This is why I've never really been able to do this historical battle. Because you kind of just get swarmed by the enemy, because you are outnumbered. So I'm trying to get, like, hit Harold at the minute. There he is, by the way, Harold Godwinson, in like
Yeah.
full chainmail.
Yeah, because chainmail was it a thing at this point? Chainmail.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Just, I don't think the level of quality they've got is the correct one.
Yeah, because I was thinking on the Bio Tapestry, there's plenty of depictions of people wearing chainmail, and obviously chainmail went back to, like, mail armor was, like, back to ancient Greek times, didn't it?
Yeah. I just realised I haven't used my cavalry, and the enemy army are returning, so I've taken too long, so I need to end this now. Before they get back here. Okay, we're going to charge their flanks with our cavalry. Hopefully that's going to devastate them.
Yeah. So, out of interest, what video projects are you working on at the moment?
Well, since COVID, obviously, I was working on my April Fool's video, but I'm still working on that.
Yeah,
But
got delayed, unfortunately.
It got delayed, unfortunately. But after that, I plan to basically carry on with the Welsh videos, and then basically go into, hopefully, the Second Scottish War of Independence.
Cool. Because you did the what do you call it? The I might think you did the first one, didn't you?
Yes,
as
I
well.
did the first one a long, long time ago.
Because that threw me. Because I don't. Am I right in thinking you didn't in the way that when you finished the Anarchy, you compiled it into one
I
like
never
2
did
hour
that with the,
video? Never did that with the other one. Yeah.
Oh, I've managed to pull Harold away from his army, so let's see if I can kill him. Yeah, that other army's turned back now, so I need to get my cavalry out of there.
Right, man. I've got like about 20 minutes of work I need to do
Yeah,
to
dude,
finish
that's
my
fine.
working day. So I'm probably gonna nip off now.
Yeah, that's
and,
fine. No, dude, honestly, thank you for staying and joining me.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all.
I'll probably
And,
be ending this soon anyway, because I think I've been streaming for about just over 3 hours now.
yeah. Cool. Well, I've got a few donations, so I
There you go,
don't know about you. I'm quite happy with that.
No,
so.
no, I'm thrilled. Honestly, I wasn't expecting any donations, to be honest with you. I was really worried. But no, thank you for everyone that's donated. I greatly appreciate it. But no, we've lost this battle.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Like
Yeah,
I
look
said,
at the little bar where
quite
it's like...
a hard battle. So... Well, actually, yeah, I might as well just leave it here as well, actually, because I've not eaten for a while. So, yeah, I'll end the live stream here then as you're heading off as well. So,
cool.
No, thank you for everyone that donated. I greatly appreciate it. And, yeah, I'll try and post some verification on Twitter that I haven't run off with the money like some devious villain.
Yeah.
So, right, well, adios, amigos.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thank you for joining me. Right, well, there we are. So, yes, so thank you to everyone that donated. I'll leave this live stream up for people to view whenever, and if they wish to donate some more, I'll keep the links up, and I'll also keep everyone up to date. So thank you for everyone that stopped by, and thank you to all my YouTube pals that joined us